Rebel on www.reggaeglobalradio.com. Family, more of you at home and abroad are responding to the information we're providing. And it's a beautiful thing. This is historic. It's not only a message, it's beginning to take shape as a movement. And we will not stop until the government is accountable, public corruption is prosecuted, and the perpetrators are brought to the bar of justice. Crime is controlled. Justice is dispensed with in a fair and equitable manner. Affordable housing, new and refurbished infrastructure, quality medical care, meaningful employment. One second. Somebody trying to get in there. Meaningful employment, livable wages, quality education, real economic gains, and an improved quality of life are enjoyed by the masses. We need all of that. And we know that, and we understand that it's going to take time to right the deficiencies that have accumulated for more than a century. We know that it's going to take more than money. It's going to start with educating our people with the goal of empowerment. And I'm not talking about, when I said education, I'm not talking about ordinary literacy, reading, writing, and arithmetic. I'm talking about critical thinking regarding issues and resolutions. As I've said, listen to the politicians attentively, but hold on one second. I think Mr. Patterson is trying to call me. As I was saying, pay close attention to what you hear the politicians are saying, or listen to the politicians, but pay close attention to what's going on around here, because this is where sense is extracted from the nonsense you've been fed by a whole bunch of politicians. This is the poor people's university. And keep in mind that formal education is only one way of being educated. It's not the only way. And I'm sure you've heard of some people being book smart, others being street smart, some being intuitive, and some being analytical. Well, it's not only the rich and influential people who possess these traits. This panel does, and we have and continue to share our experience, knowledge, wisdom, etc. with you, so that you too can become examples and influences in your communities. And you don't have to just listen to what somebody will feed you. You can cut through the nonsense. Now, I've been told that thousands of you have watched my YouTube channel. Continue to do so, and please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Tell your family and friends to do the same. Again, there is no cost associated with subscribing except small investment of your time. And believe me, and trust me, it's a wise investment. Today, my guests, you, family, and I will reason about pertinent news out of Jamaica. As usual, you're invited to join us and reason with us on the phone. And let me give the number again, the phone line. Last week we had some difficulty with that as well. Hopefully we won't experience the same problems this week. The number is 667-369-8569. Again, the number is 667-369-8569. Or you can just hit us up in the chat room. I see Carl said there's an issue every Saturday. Choose a different platform and keep it simple. Carl, couldn't agree with you more. Carlin, big up yourself. Welcome. And then I see somebody else sending some stuff here. I don't think that's for me. That's for the previous host. Another reminder, please tune in to Reggae Global Radio this Saturday, tonight, from midnight until 2 a.m. and relax with the Rebel. So far, the reaction has been outstanding. So if you're up tonight and you're stressed out, or you would just like to listen to some really, really good music, tune in to Relax with the Rebel on this radio station tonight at midnight until 2. As always, make it a date. Don't be late. Today, we have a distinguished panel that, if you've been watching the show, it needs no introduction. However, I believe that we have some new listeners, some new viewers, and so an introduction is necessary. We have Herb Nelson Jr., a man who's well versed in national security and crime issues affecting Jamaica and the Greater Caribbean, and he should join us shortly. We also have with us Jeffrey, the defender, Tavares, talk show host and the commentator on Roots FM and also of YouTube fame. And last and certainly not least, we have Wayne, the man in the wilderness, the renegade who not afraid, the wind, Lonesome, one of the giants in the real fight, real fight for human rights in Jamaica. A man who's a symbol of speaking truth to power with evidence, not so-so, not hearsay, not conjecture, or just mere belief, but with real, cold facts, evidence. And my guest today is none other than Mr. Joseph L. Patterson. Among the many hats he wears are father, entrepreneur, educator, and president of the United Independence Congress, UIC, a political organization in Jamaica. Now, let me say, I've never met him personally, but I've watched him on several platforms and watched him explain the mission, the mandate of his political organization. I've found him to be articulate, bright, energetic, and with a vision for Jamaica that many people are examining. And today's panel will not be an exception. However, as a politician, he has faced, and he may not call himself a politician, but he's getting involved in politics. He will explain how, if he doesn't consider himself a politician, how we can separate the two. However, as such, he has faced the unavoidable controversy that people in his position face. In fact, you may remember him and other members of his organization as subjects of an arrest last July for protesting in violation of the Public Order Act. Today's discussion is going to be riveting, and hopefully in the spirit of Reason with Rattigan, we'll walk away with greater clarity and purpose of the issues. Shout out time. Continued praise and blessings from Mama Eileen, Papa Trevor, Ma P and family, Mrs. Nelson, Earl. Well, I think Earl had trouble, so I think Earl in a good stead right now. Bunny Jump, big up yourself, my brother. Get well soon. Sassy Diva, you know my prayers. Big shout out to the Reggae Global family, especially Kevin, you know, who works tirelessly to just keep me on the platform, because if it's just me alone, everything doomed. Big shout out to the Meadowbrook crew, the Firehouse crew, the Rallington crew, Admiral, big up yourself. Donovan from Rallington, stay so. The Maxwell Avenue crew and the crew of hardworking, dedicated, honest members of the JCF and JDF who are out there every day trying to keep Jamaica safe and secure. Now, this week has been eventful with speeches by the opposition leader and the Prime Minister, as well as appearances in Parliament by Peanut Dread, a controversial figure. And also in attendance was one of the residents whose homes in Clifton were bulldozed by the government. The Peanut Dread saga continues with the man in the wilderness. He's been doing several programs on it, and I'm sure we'll touch on it today. Family, we have a lot to talk about. So let's begin. Mr. Patterson, welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I have seen a number of your programs as well, quite enlightening and refreshing. So I'm looking forward to an opportunity to discuss some of these items with you as well.
Outstanding, outstanding, outstanding. Man in the wilderness, defender, welcome, welcome. I say Herb is trying to get on, but Herb, if I hit this button here, I'm gonna lose everybody and just get you. So if you can, if you will, please call on the line, and then we'll just proceed with you on the phone line today.
Yes.
It will prevent other people from coming on, but so be it. No,
Or Wayne can send him the link, forward the link from your WhatsApp to him, Wayne, and if he uses that, he can get in.
All right. We'll see if he'll join us. Now, Mr. Patterson, you said you watched the program. I'm heartened by that, because it's in a stage of infancy, And so we're trying to get as many viewers as possible. And you being one of them, I'm grateful to you, sir. And
My pleasure.
so you know the drill. The first question I ask every guest is, who are you? Explain to the audience. There's some people out there who know, but they don't know enough, and there's some who don't know. So explain to all of us, who is Joseph Patterson?
It's a tough question because there's so many facets to my life, but we can begin by just saying I'm an ordinary Jamaican. I was born in Kingston, 1971, August 2nd, in a little place called Blake Road. That's in the heart of downtown. I grew up in the inner city community and eventually became successful in academic studies, from Spanish Town Secondary to St. Andrew Technical to a full scholarship to UTech where I studied engineering. And from there I became an immigrant, like many Jamaicans, migrated to Canada and became a CPA in Canada and rose to the ranks of Director of Finance in the government there. And chaired some serious boards, the last of which on an international level was Oil Credit, where I was the chairman for a board that looked at a fund of $146 billion. I returned to Jamaica some 11 years ago, where now I'm engaged in farming and continue to practice accounting, and trying to build for Jamaica a new political movement. I hate to call it a party because it's really meant to unify the people, but the current system requires us to be a party, so we're a party. And we're mobilizing people and trying to bring people together to address the core problems we face in Jamaica, of which the number one problem is governance, bad governance to be exact. And so Joseph Patterson is, like you, all of you, trying to bring change and hope to Jamaica.
Okay. Nice opening. Now, let's get down to details. Let me start with oh, by the way, Mr. Herb Nelson, welcome, sir. Yeah, you have to unmute.
Welcome to you all, including you, our esteemed guest, Mr. Patterson. How you doing?
Doing great, Mr. Nelson. Nice to see you and hear you.
Yes, and our man in the wilderness, we brought him in from the cold. He's looking good today. And the Vumba Bar, Vumba V.
All right. So look,
well, we have all kind of names around here, Mr. Patterson. You gotta note that, and maybe you'll have a name for us all here soon.
Right.
One that the Prime Minister may or may not like. Who knows?
Right. Well, let me start this with I actually saw you for the first time, Mr. Patterson, on Wil Lonesome show, and I was intrigued, and I watched the entire thing. So what I'll do is I'll give him the honor of asking you the first question, since he has a familiarity with you. So, Mr. Lonesome, the floor is yours, sir.
Yes, good evening. Good evening to all the panel. Yeah, Mr. Patterson.
Yes, sir.
Today is a day where we have Jeffrey and Urban man Will. Where we're gonna come hardcore knocking now, because right now 2023 and we're not all up on politician right now. All right. So you as the president of the UIC, first thing, do you get to select all 63 candidates already for the party? If a general election call like tomorrow or next month?
Yeah, if an election is called tomorrow, we will definitely have candidates, but not necessarily 63.
What's the figure right now?
Well, that is still being decided by the nominations committee.
Nomination committee. All right. So all these candidates, they're getting vetted. When we say vetted, with CV, not to just talk to them, interview them, but proper CV and send other people go check out them background thoroughly. You doing
Absolutely.
that?
We're definitely doing the best we can to vet them as thoroughly as possible.
And reach out to members of the community in the community that you can really get a real background on these people?
Well, that's the first place we look at, because all of our candidates must come from the community and represent the community that they live in. They cannot represent another community. And so we rely on the citizens in those communities to give us a feedback on the persons who are running. In fact, we invite them to tell us if they want the person to run.
All right. So first thing, all right. So, you know, you have some of these inner city communities where, you know, you have some people might have, you know, put themselves up to get elected. But the truth is, a lot of them, you know, them divided in their own community. So when you're selecting a candidate, make sure you get to select candidates who are balanced on all sides and with good standing in the community. Good standing. You know, who want to look on them real background or work, you know, them brought up, everything about them. Because you see how the landscape right now I go with some of these, what's happening? Okay, everything good. With some of these candidates and some of these politicians now, a member of parliament, when we start on them CV, it's not so good enough. So your party going to guarantee us, you're going to do all the due diligence and go through them background thoroughly.
Yeah, and it also depends on what you're looking for in their background, Wayne. If you're looking at representational politics, some people may not have the kind of credentials that, say, Rattigan and myself might possess from an academic standpoint and so on. But you have some persons who are really hardcore grassroots individuals who understand the issues in their communities and can truly represent them. What you want to exclude are persons who are by nature involved in any form of corruption or any form of criminal activities. And you know, the UIC stands firmly against politics being in any way connected to criminality. That's what keeps us clean. But in terms of a person's track record, you're going to find a mixed bag depending on how persons view them in their communities. But we look for candidates who have the majority support. If you have more persons speaking positively of the person, and if their background when checked doesn't have any checkered past concerning crime and violence or government corruption, political corruption, or even corporate corruption.
Continue, and even corporate corruption?
Well, that was the end of my sentence. I'm saying any form of corruption that we can get our hands on, that we learn of, then that would be a disqualifying factor.
Disqualifying factor. And next thing now, how you're going to go about to raise funds to fund the party?
Very good question. As you know, the UIC is a grassroots movement. So our funding is primarily coming from ordinary Jamaicans here at home and abroad. So we're raising funds through ordinary Jamaicans contributing. And we've been working on that very much. It's very difficult, because our people are not used to that way of funding parties. They're used to having the PSOJ just give money to these two groups and then they go out and buy the votes and win the election. So we're educating and pulling people up to do something very different. And that's where you come in. If all of us as Jamaicans recognize the importance of owning our political parties and not ceding it to the PSOJ, then we have a better chance of fixing the problems. As long as we allow the parties to be owned by the PSOJ oligarchies, we'll never be able to control our politicians and get them to do what we want them to do.
But I have a different view on that, because I have a view that, PSOJ, these are the same people buying from them. And a lot of poor people in Jamaica. We have 2 million people can't even afford food by the world standard. It's reported, right? And if we continue to take, $20 from these people and think we cannot afford food, it even draw them down more. Why not take money from the PSOJ? But we not do what them say. Because at the end of the day, if you farm the next government, just take me advice. If you farm the next government, right? You farm the government. Them still have to pay taxes. Them still have to do for them share. So you don't have to do what them do, or what them say. PSOJ can't hold you like a robot, but you have to include them in my turn. Not to be a robot to them, but them have to play a share because they are in Jamaica, them getting the labor skill, them getting everything from them. And it would ease off the burden, but them have to help fund parties. But you not going to be a robot to them or a yes man to them. What to say about that?
Well, you need to understand human behavior and human dynamics and understand the incentives involved in our politics. The only reason why the PSOJ will fund a political party is if that party gives it certain amount of confidence that when elected, they're going to do as they're told for the most part. If you look back at the history of politics in Jamaica, you'll see where there are times where the PSOJ withholds funds from a political party and its leadership if they don't think it's going in the right direction. You've also seen where they have increased their funding to some when they want to maintain a particular course in terms of the agenda which is being pursued. And that has always been the way our politics is run. So if you think you're going to change it by saying, you know, I'm going to win with their help and then change afterwards, that's deception. And a politician,
hold on a
second. A politician that wins election based on deception is a deceptor or deceiver still. So I'm not going to promise anybody that you fund my campaign and then when I go in, I do something different from what I've said.
But what I'm saying, I'm not telling you to promise somebody that, and I'm going to tell you this too. You remember PSOJ, Private Sector Organization of Jamaica. If you think about it, it's not everybody political that are number one because of business people, right? And some of them are, some vote for JLP, some vote for PMP, some vote for no Ps. So PSOJ is a broad body of business people. So no care what they do, even some of them come from foreign with the tourism sector and everything. You don't have to promise to the PSOJ. Not, but you might not think that, but I think a different way. And by the way, PSOJ, them have to play them part and pay them taxes too. But
you're conflating a number of things here. Let's separate them. The private sector of Jamaica is all of us who are outside the government. Once you are not a government employee, you're a member of the private sector. That is a much larger group than the public sector. That's given. The PSOJ as a body is quite fine. What I'm talking about is the PSOJ membership, those who act as an oligarchy. Hold on. If you study politics carefully, you know that it's not those who you see on the front page that's really running the country. It's those who pull the purse strings. So we can say anything we want, but the bottom line is the PSOJ oligarchy, they pull the strings in our politics. Andrew Holness cannot perform, cannot even hope to be re-elected without the support of the PSOJ oligarchy. The same for the PNP. The PNP has to play the game. Hold on. The PNP have to play the game and make sure that they don't go too far in any direction that costs them. Hold on. That cause them not to get the funding they need from the PSOJ oligarchy. That is a fact. It works that way in America. Hold on. It works that way in America. It works that way in Canada. It works that way in Jamaica. Now, what we have to do, if we're wise, we have to understand that as a people and decide, do we want to continue to have our government be controlled by a special interest group? Or do we want to change the dynamics to make sure the government work on behalf of the people?
No, but I'm just telling you again. If you to turn to fund a political party, gonna need money. It need money. You have to go in all these constituencies. And if you're going to turn to just the people of Jamaica, where 3/4 if it's suffer already to give a $20 and a $10, believe me, it's going to be a long jog. You understand what I'm saying, Rattigan?
No, I know.
It's going to be, all right. I can bet and win on that.
Let me respond to that point. So what you're saying is the Jamaican people will never fund their own political movement.
No, but
hold on. We have 4 million, roughly, Jamaicans in the diaspora. If 1% of them gave $25 a month, it's game over.
No, but you just say something. Hold on. You just say something. Don't you know the 1% of them are give to that you just say something, you know. But just go cross the board with the other two parties. So if them have people
No,
that they
no,
are
no.
them give it to the
Hold
party
on.
also.
No.
So the
people
PSOJ
hold
could have
on,
control them then.
Hold
If
on.
it don't for your party, go for the rest of the party same way.
No, hold on. You're missing the point here.
No, I'm not missing it.
Let me
But
replay it for you.
Yes.
Right now, the two colonial parties that have been in power.
I wouldn't call them that, colonial.
That's my words.
Your views, okay.
You don't have to borrow it. The two colonial parties that have been in office for 80 years.
No, 80 years.
Hold on.
Hold on again.
No, hold on a second. Hold on a second.
Correct something again.
No, hold on.
Please,
Lonesome. Hold on a second. No, hold on a second. Hold on. Let Mr. Patterson finish. Finish, Mr.
Yes.
Patterson. Then you can. Then we'll.
The two parties that came out of the colonial era that were funded by the plantocracy of the day, which is the PSOJ oligarchy today, those two colonial parties have been in office since 1944 when we got universal adult suffrage. For 80 years now, we have trusted them with our country, with our lives, with our economy, and we have seen the result for 80 years. Now, they have figured out a very good model. The model goes like this. We take money from the rich elite, pretend we care about the poor, get elected, and then we steal some of that money and keep the people in perpetual poverty, where they don't have the road connection, they don't have the security system, they don't have the environment, nor the education or healthcare for them to achieve their full potential. While a few of them continue to milk the nation and get fat and big house on the hill while the people are suffering. That is a fact. Now, if we're going to change that fact, we have to do something different. What you're saying, Mr. Lonesome, is we must continue to do the same thing and hope for a different result. I'm saying no way. That's not going to work.
All right, so
hold on a second.
I never said that.
Hold on a second.
Let us correct you. Just say facts. Let us correct a little facts. Two political parties from 1944, that'll be 78 years, not 80. But the next thing, we get independent in 1962. That is where the thing starts. So it couldn't be, we just turned 60, so it couldn't be 78 or 80 years. UK was governing this. So we'd have not prime minister. So UK was governing Jamaica. We have power and everything. So make we get the facts straight. That's number one. The first prime minister was Bustamante, 62. So it couldn't be 80 years. All right, that's one. And number two, if you just tell me, said the party just think of 3 million people outside, or 4. 3 million, not 4. And if them put even $25 and fund the party. But I'm going to tell you now, a lot of these people out there, they put money to the same JLP and PMP parties. It's not just the PSOJ. Come on, we want the country, not just the PSOJ. Because if we don't send our money inside there with 3.8 billion per year, Jamaica sink in a 1 year.
Hold on a second there. Mr. Patterson, do me a favor. Kindly tilt your camera up. The people are saying that they can only see.
My head cut off.
Yeah, they say head cut off. Yeah,
go there you go.
No. More, please.
More? Okay.
Yeah, because I'm looking at it over the side and down a little.
This?
No, a little bit more. Just a tad more.
Up some more?
No, the same direction you were going a while ago.
Okay, there you go.
You can't go any lower?
You mean higher, right? Higher, like that.
Yeah, higher. Yeah, go higher. A little bit more, just a little bit more.
Better?
Yeah, I think that I forgot to live with that. I think that's fine.
Okay.
But hold on a second, Lonesome. Let me ask you a question.
I won't let you get over with that.
No. Hold on a second. Hold on a second, Mr. Patterson. Mr. Patterson. No. Hold on a second. Mr. Patterson, to follow up on Lonesome's question, and I know you're going to follow up to him specifically what he just said, but let me just add another piece to it. And by the way, folks, we're not going to take a commercial break because we're already late. So, and I know that there's a problem when we go through the commercial break on the streaming side that it's difficult for people to hear. So, but we have no other choice. Blame me for that. No, Mr. Patterson, I read something that describes your party, right? And it says, we support non-partisan election systems and representative of the electorate at all levels. Goes on to say, all candidates must run and stand as independents for a united independence Congress. And here's a key part, and should not, I repeat, not be funded by any person, any group, or any party. Now, you just mentioned that your funding will come from grassroots people. Now, isn't that taking money from persons?
Okay, so you're conflating two things again, and I'll quickly address them. One, you're reading what we want to set up versus what exists now. Right now, the system as it exists now, you must take money. The UIC is advocating a 100% public.
Hello.
So when we're elected and we change the constitution, Jamaica will have a 100% publicly funded campaign financing where no candidate will be required or allowed to take financing from any private interest whatsoever. And I will explain how that works in a bit. But let me get back to Wayne's point. Wayne says it's 60 years. Now, Wayne, in 1944, in fact, before the PNP was formed in what, 1938, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And the PNP
I want to respond to
worked with the colonial powers
gentleman.
to have what we call universal adult suffrage.
Hello?
50, yes.
No,
50.
no, man, 1944. Get your facts.
Okay. All right.
In 1944, we had the right to vote. It's the first time black people en masse, equally, regardless of their economic background or language.
Black people, listen, right? That was a
Hello.
No, everybody.
Hold on 1 second. Mr. Patterson, hold on 1 second. You know what? Go ahead. Somebody was calling, but
In 1944, we got the right to vote. They call it adult suffrage or universal adult suffrage. The first election held, the GLP won that election. The first two elections, the GLP won it. The next two elections, the PNP won it. And so we have gone that way. It was 18 years of that before we got independence.
Yeah, but please explain.
No, you understand that
That was not Prime Minister who run it like this now.
Mr.
UK running the country still.
I am more than happy to educate you and the listeners.
No, not me, because I know what I'm saying.
So me too. So let's see if we can bridge the gap here. So in 1944, the JLP and PNP contested that election, and the JLP won the next two terms. They were under the tutelage of a governor of England. Okay?
Yeah, good.
Come on. And then once they tested and proved that we are dumb enough to buy into that system, then they gave us a governor general later on in 19.
No.
Hold on, wait, make him finish. Hold on, Lonesome. No, hold on, make him finish.
So we know, we the Jamaican people have been playing this game of partisan politics for the last 79 years to be technically correct. 1944 to 2023.
79 years.
Roughly 8 decades. Roughly 80 years. We're now entering into the 80th year. And we have been playing this game that you subscribe to, where the elites of our society fund two parties, and they use that money to buy votes, especially at the lower level of society, while voter apathy kicks in when more and more intelligent Jamaicans realize it's a waste of time. Voting PNP or GLP results in the same outcome, even if you love PNP and another person loves GLP, the result is still the same. 5 years and the people start to suffer. 10 years and it gets worse. And then they throw out one and put the other one in, and we'll play the seesaw for 80 years and get the same results, but even worse.
Okay, maybe answer that now. So you say from the first election and come and then them see and then give it. So you also say the same thing about Canada. Same thing them do about Canada, right? Because of the same governor general and thing, and the same thing them do with Australia.
Do you want to
because
know
we know the same.
Do you want us to know this?
Hold on. We know the same Westminster system in Canada, in Australia, in New Zealand and things. And we see the people them now move down. It's just our people who get independence 1962. It's there we get the first prime minister. So when you just say something, just correct that for me, please. Because them did have a governor, same like in America, them have governor for New York or anything, in goes. Different from the president. Okay.
All right, let me jump in here. Let me jump. Whoa, hold on. Win.
Starting as a prime minister,
Hold on.
stop 79 years.
All right.
That is fact.
Hold on a second. Hold on. Gentlemen. Mr. Mr. Patterson. What?
Same thing in Canada, the same thing in Jamaica, and in the islands also. So don't do that.
Well, hold on a second. Hold on. Mr. Patterson, can you hear me? Mr. Patterson? Mr. Patterson, all right. Here's what happened. We reach an impasse, right? We're not going to agree on that point. So let's move on to another point. Let me just throw out, let me see. Jeffrey, you have a question for Mr. Patterson?
Yes, Mr. Patterson, good afternoon. You said that you won't collect funds from the PSOJ nor corporate Jamaica. Now tell me something. Pardon me?
Repeat yourself. I missed a part of it.
You said you won't collect funds from the PSOJ nor the people of the Vumvavan, the Vumvavi.
No, I've not said that. No, I've not said that.
What have you
just said you won't collect any money.
No, I did not say that.
PSOJ.
Somebody tell you what I'm saying? Let me repeat it for you.
Hold on, Mr. Patterson. Hold on. We can rewind what you said a while ago, you know.
No, let him clarify, Jeffrey. Hold on a second. Mr. Patterson, go ahead. What are you saying regarding collecting funds from people to support the party?
So the UIC's position is that we want to build and are building a grassroots political movement where we get the Jamaican people to own the party as opposed to having the PSOJ oligarchy own the UIC in the same way that it owns the JLP and PNP.
Okay, Jeffrey.
Hold on, Mr. Patterson. That is not what you said. That is not what you said. You said
yes, caller.
That your party will not
Mr. Rattigan.
from the people.
Hold on 1 second, please. Jeffrey, hold that point. Caller, go ahead, please.
No, what I'm saying here is, look, people are watching the program. I think the guest should go to the host, instead of arguing back and forth. Because, look, 3 hours, but it seemed like a long time. However, it's a short period of time. So the back and forth is not happening.
Okay.
Let the panel go to the host. The host is supposed to host the stuff. The back and forth between Mr. Lonesome, and Mr. Patterson, that is not very helpful. So what I'm asking you guys to do is go to Mr. Rattigan. He's the host. Let him host the program. Thank you.
All right, thanks. All right, hold on. Here's another call. Yeah, caller, go ahead, please. Hello? All right, go ahead, Jeffrey.
No, Mr. Patterson. You said on this program, when you first started out, that the UIC will not collect money from the PSOJ. And I call the people who live in Cherry Garden and wherever, the Vumvavan, the Vumvavi. You will collect money from the poor pauperizing Jamaicans. Now tell me something now, sir. If the people of our country can hardly afford certain basic items, you prefer to collect money from them?
Before you answer, Mr. Patterson, hold on 1 second. Yes, caller.
Yes, I would like to ask the gentleman, does any member of the police organization that you represent plan to go and pay a visit to Mr. Peanut Dread to have him clarify those statements he made about raping women, cut their throats if they resist the sexual advances, and killing women and children, etc. Seeing that the Prime Minister gave him such a platform.
No, caller, here's the deal. Mr. Patterson is not here to answer for the government. In fact, he's against the government. So in terms of him, so if you have a specific question for him and UIC, then we'll entertain that. But if you're going to talk to him about Peanut Dread, then you need to tune into Wil Lonesome show where you'll catch me, Wil Lonesome, and the Defender, and everybody else talking about
That's
it.
The wrong format. All right, okay, thank you.
All right, sir. All right, Mr. Patterson, can you please finish up, respond to Jeffrey?
First of all, the UIC is committed to building a grassroots movement which is owned by the Jamaican people, home and abroad. That's number one. Number two, we are prepared to empower and encourage the Jamaican people to donate to what they want. And whether or not you think we are too poor to donate to creating our own political alternative, that's your choice, Mr. Tavares. What we know for certain is that we cannot continue to have the two parties that are funded by the colonial...
Mr. Patterson, with due respect to you, so I have to cut you off there. And I know it's not my program, it's Mr. Rattigan program. You told us a while ago, Mr. Patterson, that you will not collect money from the PSOJ. So in the same breath, how are you going to collect money from the poor people? How on earth can the poor people of our country fund a political party? With the tune of millions of dollars, when their same one can hardly afford chicken back, in mackerel, flour. Come on, Mr. Patterson.
All right, hold on, Jeffrey. Let Mr. Patterson respond. Hold on, Jeff. Yes, Mr. Patterson.
I am making it clear to you that the UIC is depending on the grassroots support to fund our party. If you don't like it, that's okay.
That's what you said a while ago.
Anyways, go ahead, Mr.
All right. Hold on a second. Herb, you have a question for Mr. Patterson?
Well, pretty much what I was trying to say, I have my notes here. Grassroots movement, raising people funds, right? Grassroots doesn't necessarily mean the very poor people. Grassroots, he referred to overseas and in Jamaica. It just means the people of Jamaica, regardless of who they are, if they can afford it, they can fund it. If the people overseas in the diaspora can afford it, they can fund it. That he would not want the PSOJ to be given the funds, which he mentioned usually would go toward vote buying and other targeted communities to get them to favor the party that the PSOJ favors. So, you know, I take him at his word for it that this is what he means. But my thing here is accountability. Mr. Patterson, my background is in intelligence and investigation.
Let me see if I can help getting back to you on track.
Hold on 1 second. Hold on a second, Herb. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
You have a question?
Yes, I do.
All right, go ahead.
I'm particularly interested in what the gentleman is saying, but it seems more like sloganeering. You know, those of us who involved in this type of work, we have heard it before.
Hold on, turn your radio down. Turn your device down because I can hear it in the background.
Okay.
All right, go ahead. You're saying that Mr. Patterson is all about slogans. That's what you said.
Sloganeering, you know, and not the sloganeering. The Jamaican people have heard it before. So my question to this gentleman is, name me, if he can tell us how many branches he has established in terms of advancing this organization. Because to get something effective in Jamaica, you have to go into the community and construct branches, help the people to organize themselves and whatever. I want to hear more about that from the gentleman.
Okay. All right.
Cool.
Thanks. Mm-hmm. Mr. Patterson, before you answer that question about establishing branches and having, you know, the community development, can you please respond to what Herb was saying? Or Herb, did you finish? I know you made a statement, but did you have a question for him?
Yeah, it was about accountability, because we can see on both sides currently that the accountability factor, where in the past they have colluded with outside foreign operations to accept monies and to do their bidding. And then we see also where there's unexplained affluence, wealth that is occurring within the current government. So my question to him is, how does he intend to handle that if and when it does occur with the UIC? Because, they're going to be targeted. Whether or not he can control that, I don't know. So we want to know how he's
How will he?
gonna-
So, Mr. Patterson, the question on the floor is, how will you deal with the unexplained wealth, the affluence? But before you do, caller, you have a question?
Yes, hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Rattigan, for taking my call. Mr. Patterson, this question is for you, per se, as it relates to the SSL saga. What does the UIC have on the table, to be able to deal with these financial crimes that occur in Jamaica? Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, what's the UIC's position on dealing with financial
SSL?
crimes?
Okay, so lots of questions now. SSL, first and foremost, was a very poorly communicated and poorly managed situation. What we're talking about is raw fraud that has occurred in one of our financial institutions, mostly led because the regulatory body failed to take actions at the appropriate time. A lot of that has to do with the possibility of political connections and persons being given a blight because of who they're connected to and with. And you have to change that.
Mm-hmm.
The UIC's position is to create a fair and balanced regulatory framework that does not allow for cherry picking as to how you deal with different institutions. The law is set up, it's very clear, it's standard, and it follows. So for example, when SSL failed to meet certain prudential standards, they should have been immediately communicated to the investing public, and action is taken to bar them from continuing to conduct business in the area until the matters have been addressed. Once you have a regulatory framework where persons are able to cherry pick how they respond to different companies and different organizations and individuals, you have the kind of outcomes that we have. The UIC is going to have clear standard regulations that applies across the board to all the players in a given market without hesitation and without cherry picking occurring in the situation.
All right, it sounds to me,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, it sounds to me like you're saying that the laws are there already, it's just enforcement. Or are you saying the laws are not there and so we're going to come up with our own laws to deal with it?
There are two sets. One, you have laws on the books right now, which if they were applied, they could have helped to mitigate the situation. They're not necessarily the best laws, however. One of the problems we have in Jamaica is that the laws we have are mostly given to us by our colonial masters, and then we just put them on the books, sometimes give it a little Jamaica flavor around it, and we go on from there. Our laws are not designed with us carefully studying and understand the consequences of these laws. The UIC wants to have laws that are A, just, and B, applied across the board to all persons, regardless of rank or status. No matter who you are, it's applied steadily. Similar to the approach that Singapore follows, which reduces a lot of these corruption problems that we see in Jamaica.
So you would repeal or you would improve? Which one?
Well, in terms of our constitution, we're going to replace.
Replace. All right, good. Now let's get back to Herb's question about affluence. What's your position on dealing with unexplained wealth?
It's so simple, Rattigan, that I'm amazed that we Jamaicans have allowed this to go on for so long. It's very simple. Every single politician should be forensically tested to verify where their wealth are coming from.
But they have that on the books too, right?
Sorry?
They have that law on the books, am I correct?
Not really. It's convoluted and weak and doesn't really.
Have you offered any suggestion to the government? Have you offered any suggestions to the legislatures?
Well, the UIC has been very clear on these matters. And you see, here's the thing: we don't play politics the way many people seem to play. We're not here trying to have fun, having a discussion about the different things that happen in government. We know that what we have as a governance model is bad. It's very designed is bad. When you conflate the executive branch and the legislative branch, you're immediately violating a basic principle of control. You must have separation of function, separation of duties, separation of powers for you to have proper accountability.
Okay.
We don't have that right now.
All right, let me stop you right there. I have a question for you before I bring back in Mr. Lonesome. But before I do, let me take this call. Caller, go ahead. You have a question for Mr. Patterson?
No, I have a statement for Mr. Patterson.
Go ahead, please.
Mr. Patterson tried to recruit my son in his Ponzi scheme or whatever he calls it. Mr. Patterson cannot make it in Jamaica. If you're not going to go to PSOJ, then there's something wrong with you, because that's what they're there for. But he's trying to make money in Jamaica from poor people to make himself a better man. And I'm sorry, he should not be even thinking of running for politics in Jamaica.
No.
His platform is very shaky.
Okay. No, don't be sorry for having an opinion. That's why we have it reason with Rattigan. Express yourself. You have something else you want to add to that?
No, I think I've said it all. But as I said, he tried to recruit my son, but I sent him to a good school. He has an education, and so he could see through his phony things. So, Mr. Patterson, I wish you well, but I don't think you're going to make it, because you are just going to rape poor people. You're not going to make them better. You are calculating how much, if X number of people contribute X dollars a month, how much a month you will make. It ain't gonna work. Not in my Jamaica. I'm sorry. Thank you.
All right. Thanks. All right. Hold on a second. Let me see. There's another call. Yes, caller.
I have a quick question going back to the finances of politicians. Why can't the politician do a financial disclosure every year of what they have in their accounts and where they get it from?
Well, there's I'm sorry. Go ahead, please.
When I worked for a governmental agency as a manager, every single year I had to do a financial disclosure for me and everyone in my household. Wouldn't that?
Well, to be honest with you, they're supposed to, but that's one of the points Mr. Patterson raised, saying that the law is convoluted and people they skirt it and they don't do what they're supposed to do, and the penalties for non-compliance, it doesn't lead to compliance because it's minor in nature. So he's saying that UIC, they're going to repeal what's there and come up with something brand new that will cause the politicians to do what they're supposed to do. You have another question for him? That was a statement, but do you have a question for him?
No, that was it.
All right. Thanks for listening. Continue to listen. All right.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Now, Mr. Patterson, I have a question for you before I turn it over to Mr. Lonesome here. Now, I've read your CV, and it doesn't seem to me, and you can correct me, I'm open to being fully corrected. It doesn't appear to me as if you've had any experience with representational politics besides being school president and so on and so forth, right? Am I correct?
Yes, you're correct.
Okay. So you have no experience as being a politician in the truest sense of the word, somebody who's out there in the community, not the school community, but in the community at large. Two questions. Why should we trust you with our vote? And the second thing is, what's your weakness? What do you consider your weakness as a politician, so to speak?
Thank you very much. Yeah, so it's true that I am not a career politician. In fact, I would rather not spend my time in politics. I really got involved in this because I realized that no one else was doing what is necessary to change the trajectory that Jamaica is on. So I've decided to offer my knowledge and expertise to create a political movement with a difference. The UIC is very different. The lady that spoke a while ago, she suggested that it's a Ponzi scheme, that our asking Jamaicans to own their political party as opposed to have it being owned by the PSOJ oligarchy is a bad thing. She would rather continue having the two parties owned by the PSOJ and work for them. So I am doing something very different. So I'm offering Jamaica something very different. Now, I'm an accountant, CPA for a number of years. One of the things I've studied carefully is controls, internal controls. They're a critical part of any organization, be it a business, a charity, or a government. And Jamaica has failed tremendously on putting in the appropriate internal controls, checks and balances, a governance model that works. So I've spent a number of years, 10 in the shortest period now, where I've studied carefully how to build a governance model that I believe will work for Jamaica and which others have agreed that will also work for Jamaica. In terms of my CV, no, I've done work in the community, so to speak. For example, when I was a younger fellow in Seaview Gardens, my mom was living there for a little bit. well, for a while. I went down there and I kind of helped them to figure out and led some demonstration to get, like police outposts.
Hold that point from right there. The calls are coming in like crazy. Caller, go ahead, please.
Yes, hi, Mr. Patterson. Seeing as
Yeah.
it doesn't appear that you're going to become prime minister, why not then just run for local government and get a foot in and then make changes from within? Thanks. I'll
All right,
listen
thanks,
offline.
Okay, so just to inform you a little bit about how the system works here, one doesn't run for prime minister. You run for member of parliament or you run for councillor. So I am the UIC's representative for member of parliament for Northeast St. Elizabeth, and I'm also working at the divisional level for Breeze River here in Northeast St. Elizabeth, along with the other divisions of Santa Cruz and so on. So I am, at some point when we have an election, I may be one of a number of persons elected on the ticket of the UIC, which I look forward to. And then I will be in the House of Representatives, should the people decide so, and I will work on their behalf. And in the process, create the outcomes that we want, hopefully, a new Jamaica, which is no longer run by those two organizations that I believe do not deserve to be in our House of Parliament.
Okay, Mr. Patterson. Oh my goodness, here's a call coming in from Jamaica. Hold on. Caller, go ahead, please. Caller.
Yes, sir.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead with you. You have a question for Mr. Patterson?
I have a question for us as a people and with your panel. I am really a person that follow Mr. Lonesome and get all his idea and stuff like that, and he's somebody that you can really learn from. But for me, watching the media and everything out there, and we don't know Mr. Patterson, but yet we judge him. We call him a thief. We call him that he's corrupt. Do you think that it's right to do so without knowing the person or without finding out about the person? Or even people who are having talk show get up and call this person a thief. They will do it to you and I and to Mr. Lonesome, which is a good person. So we don't know anything about stealing. We don't know anything about corruption. I want you to answer that for me, please, sir. And
Okay.
thank you, and we respect your work.
Okay, thank you. Now, let me just say to the caller that nobody on the panel accused Mr. Patterson of being a thief or being corrupt. One lady called in and she said she had a personal experience and she related that experience and she's entitled to her opinion. Now, whether it's true or not, that's not for us to decide, and we're not going to investigate that claim. So, having said that, let me before I get back to Mr. Lonesome, Mr. Patterson, the question I ask you is why should we trust you with our vote? And you mentioned that you're an accountant, that you know about checks and balances, and that you had worked on a governance model. Is there anything else you want to tell us that should convince us that we should give you our money and give you our vote? Because those three things, they don't sound...
Sure. I
Okay.
mean, in answering your question, there have been so many things said that it's, you're trying to balance all of them. Now,
No, but here's what I'm because we're pressed for time. So I just want you to just quickly tell me, why should we trust you with our vote and our money?
right, why should you trust me with your vote and your money? Look at what I have done and what I'm doing. I could have chosen to join one of the two other colonial parties, and I could have easily fit in. In fact, if I was on the PNP ticket right now, some of your guests might be very happy and they would not find any fault with me. But because I'm not on that ticket, then of course, and that's how Jamaica politics work. A person can be run as an independent and they'll get one vote. And if they were to join any of the two parties, they suddenly get 6,000 votes. So that's the way Jamaica is. I am doing what I think is best as a citizen of Jamaica. I'm offering my people an opportunity to make a change, do something different. And those who value that will trust me. Those who do not value it may have a different opinion.
But Mr. Patterson, what I'm asking you to, you're on the platform. I'm saying, give us the specifics. as to why we should trust you, considering that you have admitted that you're not a career politician. So people are saying, well, you know, why should we trust him as opposed to somebody else who's been in there
Well,
for a while?
that's a great reason why you should trust me. If
Tell
you want
me.
to look at it that way, one reason is I'm not a career politician.
Maybe that's no, but then it shows lack of experience, though. It shows lack of experience. Why should we trust? Because you're going to go in there and learn on the job. We don't want some.
What you value as experience. For example, the current prime minister has been a career politician straight out of university for the most part, and I see where we're very unhappy with his experience so far. So you might want to try something different from those who are very experienced in the kind of politics that brought Jamaica to where it is.
But sometimes you hear people say jump from the frying pan and they jump out of the fire to the frying pan into the fire. But the second part of the question, I get where you're going, but the second part of the question is, what are your weaknesses? What do you consider your weaknesses? And why if you have second thoughts about why am I doing this, why you shouldn't be doing it.
I, like any ordinary human being, you would have second thoughts. When you hear a person come on and say the things that the lady said earlier on, you know, I have been attacked. I have, you know, suffered a lot of things that I would have escaped if I just kept myself as a private citizen and enjoy, you know, what I have built and my own profession and so on. So one of my weakness, like if I were to identify a weakness, is that I'm pretty stubborn. I hang in there and I fight for what I believe to be right. And sometimes some persons might consider that a weakness. They would say, listen, man, give up. As a matter of fact, every day I'm told by persons, you know, in different forums saying, give up, man, Jamaica don't deserve you and whatever. And I'm like, no. I'm fighting for something here. And I'm hoping that many other persons will join me in the fight.
But Mr. Patterson, that sounds like a strength, the way you just described it. That's not a weakness.
It can be a weakness.
No. The way you just described it, it's described as a strength. I want you to tell me, what do you consider a weakness? Like for example, some people might say, I'm not a good public speaker. Just for example, I'm not saying you are.
Okay, well, I'm definitely not a good public speaker. That's a given.
Okay.
So I'm not, you know, I'm not. I would love to have had the charisma of Michael Manley, for example. I mean, I really admire his charisma. So that's one of my weaknesses. In building the UIC, I also noticed other challenges. One of them is, you know, there are certain things that have been developed in the culture of Jamaica where persons do not like to be held accountable. And the more you hold them accountable is the more they become hateful. So they prefer if you can run a show or a shop where you kind of just do things and let it just kind of slide and whatever. And I'm not that kind of person. I'm very, very meticulous, very committed to getting results. And sometimes that's not the norm in our culture.
All right, I'll tell you what I'm perceiving. I'm perceiving that it's a question that you probably haven't given much thought. So rather than browbeat you, I'll just I'll just yield to Mr. Lonesome and have him.
Just bear in mind that is your opinion.
Well, is it true? Is it true?
Yeah. No, it's not true.
Okay, all right. Well, since it's not true, then can you enumerate the weaknesses then to me?
But I just did.
No, you said to me that you're not.
You don't accept what I have to say is my weakness.
No,
like to hear
no. Hold on one second.
I'll tell you what you want to hear.
No. Hold on. That's why I asked you the question. I want to hear from you. But here's what you told me.
I've told you what I think.
You've given me two. You've given me two.
You want three? You want another?
No. So those are the only two weaknesses you have?
No, I'm saying how many would you like? 10 or 3 or 4?
As much as you'd like to share with us.
Oh, so you want no time to be spent on that?
No. Oh, so you have a lot of weaknesses then?
No. You told me that you.
No, but if you say one, no.
You told me you wanted short.
No. But hold on a second. You said no. The first one you said is that I'm stubborn and people tell me that I shouldn't, but I'm fighting it because I believe in it. And I said to you, well, that doesn't sound like a weakness. If you believe in the fight, that sounds like a strength. And I said, I'd like for you to enumerate, for example, if you're not a good public speaker. I said, oh, by the way, I'm not a good public speaker. So you've given us two. Right.
No, I'll give you three actually. There's a third one. I told you that one of the issues which I found was that I have to get used to certain cultural norms.
Right.
Which I have outgrown, I think.
Mm-hmm. All right. We won't browbeat you on that. And it's not fair to the listeners either to hear us going back and forth on that. There are more substantive issues. Mr. Lonesome.
Okay, good. Mr. Patterson, yes. Can you tell me how long you established the UIC?
Well, the word establish is interesting. So the UIC, the concept of the UIC first got kicked off in 2013. That's where I kind of formulated the vast majority of the principles around which the party or movement would exist. We did not become a party until 2019. In fact, in 2018, when we had our Congress, we're a movement all this time, working and with people and so on. You might recall, or you might not recall, I ran as an independent with the UIC label in 2016 in Northeast St. Elizabeth. So I ran at a time when there was quite a bit of upheaval here in Northeast where I live. Then in 2018, our membership voted for us to become a political party. So we voted to say, yes, let's go ahead, because the laws had changed. The laws changed and say you need to register and so on. So we voted in 2018 to do that. And in 2019, after 10 months of battling with the ECJ, we became an official political party on the 2nd of December, 2019.
Oh, that's the same. 2019. This is the same time both parties became official registered party also.
No, they became official in 2018 because the law,
because I know them said party have to register. So I want to know when you start to operate then, as a political movement.
So we've been operating since 2013 progressively. So when you start a new movement, you start to progress. So you formulate ideas, you start to reach out to people, you start to work.
All right, tell me something though. To run and move both political parties have to turn a prime minister. That's why I'm asked before, if you get all your 63 candidates, because remember, you have to win more seats, right, to form the government. And that's why I asked, so how many candidates now up to date, but you never give me a figure. Can you give me even an idea of the figure, what you have? Because no care what you do now, if you say 10, you're not going to be a prime minister. You can't be a prime minister with 10 because, say it's 63 seats. And if you win 10 seats out of, only thing it could have been though, it could have been, what do you call it now? One of them breaker. When you call the breaker now, if your party could win a couple seats, tiebreaker. But you could be a prime minister. You have to have a full deck of cards that you can put in and run, right? I'm right. So that's why I'm going to ask you, but you never give me a figure. Can you just give me even out of your head an idea how many candidates now on the state?
Sure. So we are not committed to sharing with the public right now how many candidates we're going to have on election day. Okay, so that's something that I'm not able to supersede the nominating committee and tell you now how many candidates we're going to have right at this moment in time. I can't tell you that. What I do tell you is that you are correct that you require at least 33 of the 63 in order for you to form the government and have your leader, the prime minister. But we also recognize that if you have even one seat in the House, you can be a major deciding factor in what happens. If you have 5 seats, that's even more, 10 and so on.
So one seat sorry to cut you, like George Best, because he's gone over as an independent. One seat deciding factor, like George Best.
No, I wouldn't equate the UIC to George Best.
No, I'm not talking about what he's doing and nothing like that. But as an independent.
No, George Best is not there as an independent. He did not run as an independent.
I know, but
right. So he's not serving that function. But
as an independent, you know that even right now, how the cabinet stay right now, them don't even not talk because they have a 14 and you have an imbalance. And so when them talk, them are get bullied by the government. And we know it. You understand? Even with them 14 seats for them have now. Only place them could have catch them now in the Senate. We need even one at the opposition for passing. That's why them can't go through with the SOE where they want to flood the place and lock up the kids them with the kids and all kind of things. So that's why I'm going to ask you again. And then why it's not privy for you to tell us the candidate? Remember, you want to tell us the candidate and then introduce them.
I said I can't tell you that right now. And no political party at any given time, until they're ready to do so, unleash their slate of candidates, right? That's normal. But the point I'm making is, if the UIC is elected to one seat, that can be consequential. For example, if the election turns out the way we now see it, with a neck-and-neck situation happening, then the UIC having one or more seats can hold the balance of power in the House, determining who will form the government by having one or more seats. Right? That can happen. In fact, Jamaica has had elections before where it has been extremely close. You've seen that before.
Okay,
in fact,
but I'm going to say something else to that now.
In 2016, the current government had a very slim majority.
They're 1 and 2. Okay.
Right. In 2020 now, they had a super majority for reasons we can discuss otherwise. But the fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, when the electorate votes, at that time we'll see whether or not 1 seat or 5 seat or 10 seat can make a significant difference.
Yeah, but the 1 seat now, because you see now, you just tell us about the 2 party, but you have to make up your mind with one of those same party and form the next government. No, it wouldn't be 1 because you have 63. So you're going to be 32 unless them have a neck and neck.
Yeah, 31.
So even if you have that, then you have to go on one of them. So you see, it's going to put your party in a dilemma.
Are you asking me what I would do if I was in that position?
Yes.
Okay, so if we had a split parliament and I was the one person elected on behalf of the UIC, the only party that I would side with is the one that decided to make me the prime minister.
No, they will not.
No,
they will not. That's not me. That's not me. Hold on and take. Come number 1. If me I run 19 and me have 31. You couldn't tell me about the prime minister. Rather run back something and think, oh, you will never, because I will tell you, say, no, go on.
Yeah, man, that's fine. That's
no, but you're not going to do it. You're not going to do it.
Hold on.
And nobody not going to do that. This is Jamaica. This
Hold
is
on. We could do a quick round. Hold on a second. We could do a quick round. Hold on a second.
You can say
Hold on, Mr. Patterson. Gentlemen, listen, we could do a quick round of questioning here. Mr. Patterson, you're a member of the Capital Club, am I correct?
The Capital Club?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Are you affiliated with it?
No. What is that?
Oh, because on your website it says, join the Capital Club. It is our way of giving people a hand up instead of a handout. We provide millions in loans and business development services to farmers, small business, and 1 second, please. Small businesses and micro entrepreneurs. Call 876-487-8056 to learn more. Is that an advertisement, or is that are you affiliated with it? Because it's on your website.
When you mentioned the Capital Club, I thought you were talking about something other than the Community Capital Club, which we have.
Hold on 1 second.
So we have a structure in the UIC that we have community capital clubs at the divisional levels across the country. At least that is the idea for us to build these clubs as part of our structure. Prior to that,
can you guys hear me?
No, hold on a second, caller. Let Mr. Patterson finish. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Mr. Patterson, go ahead, please.
Okay, so I have been a part of a program called the Capital Club here in Northeast St. Elizabeth, where we gave loans to farmers and small business entrepreneurs and so on. Yes.
No, because the reason I mentioned that to you is because I was going to say, if you're concerned about funding for your party, it says here that you provide millions in loans and business. So why don't you provide the funding from the Capital Club to the UIC?
No, the Capital Club is a revolving fund.
It's a what? It's a revolving
fund.
Yeah.
Yes. So what you're doing is lending monies to small and micro entrepreneurs to get their business operations up and running.
All right.
It's not disposable funds.
All right. I won't press you on that, but you can go to his website and you can see what the Capital Club is.
Press. I mean,
yeah.
Press it like.
All right. But let me ask you this. There's a call on the line, but before I take the call, do you support prostitution? Does the UIC support prostitution?
No. Well, I don't support prostitution.
No, I didn't ask you. Does the UIC?
The UIC doesn't support prostitution.
It doesn't support prostitution?
So go ahead.
It doesn't support prostitution?
No, we don't support prostitution.
All right, let me read you something from the UIC's website. It says here, therefore, hold on a second. It says, therefore, we, the UIC, favor the repeal of all laws creating crimes without victims, such as gambling, the use of drugs for medicinal or recreational purposes. I suspect that cocaine might be a part of that. And consensual transactions involving sexual services. That's prostitution.
Yeah. Can you continue reading?
Yeah, it says, we support restitution to the victim to the fullest degree possible at the expense of the criminal or the negligent wrongdoer. Mm-hmm. Right? That has, but it says here, right? It says here right now that you do not support laws that that impact consensual transactions involving sexual services. That's prostitution.
No, yes, but we don't support prostitution.
But here's what you say.
So,
Let me read it again for the audience.
Let me respond to you now.
Please.
Respond to you. So what we're saying here is that we are not going to have victimless crimes being something we as a government spend our time pursuing and spending your tax dollars and resources pursuing. If you read on, you'll see where we make it very clear that while we respect the rights of people to choose what they do with their own bodies, we may not necessarily subscribe to what they choose to do with their own time and their bodies. That's a choice you have to make. But we're not going to spend your tax dollars and resources going after persons who decide that they're going to do something which is a victimless crime. It's a crime only because politicians say it's a crime. For example, ganja. For years, we have been criminalizing our people and saying it's a crime for you to grow a plant, a crime for you to process a plant, a crime for you to sell this plant. And we said, no, that's a waste of taxpayers' money. Let us go after criminals, people who are doing something bad, using force or fraud to infringe on the life, liberty, or property rights of others. Let's spend our time and effort there, as opposed to going after people just because they make choices we don't like.
Okay, now let me just be clear to the audience. There is a law against prostitution. Correct?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And you're saying in your position paper that we want to repeal that law. Am I correct?
We're saying in our position paper that we want to remove all victimless laws.
No, let me read.
And we gave you examples of.
No, well, let me read exactly then. Let me read exactly what's written in your paper. It says, therefore, we favor the repeal of all laws creating crimes without victims, such as gambling, the use of drugs for medicinal or recreational purposes, and consensual transactions involving sexual services. So what you're saying, sir, is that you want to take these laws off the books and just let it happen, whatever. Because further on, you said if two consenting parties come to an agreement regarding a contract, then that's between them. And you're saying it's victimless. But here's where it's not victimless. Prostitution leads to a whole bunch of things. You know, it leads to sexual disease, it leads to abuse, it leads to murders, it leads to all kinds of things. You know this.
Well, if you want to have a sociological discussion on prostitution, you can have a different forum for that. Mm-hmm. But that's not the issue here. The issue here is having your government spend your tax dollars and resources going after people for their own personal decisions that they want to make.
All right, let me ask you a question. So you don't believe that cocaine, for example, for recreational purposes, that the government should be involved in that at all? Whatever you decide to do with your body in the privacy of your home, that's your business.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Well, folks, listen, don't take my word for it. You can go to the website. It's all there, and it's under the title UIC Election Manifesto, A Real Jamaica, and it's under the section Crime and Justice. Mr. Tavares, you're next, sir.
Do you still have the caller holding?
Oh, sorry, caller.
Yes.
Yes, I'm sorry. Thanks for reminding me.
Okay, I was listening to the conversation. It's interesting. I was the one who called earlier about, the panel, having a civil discussion. But I have a couple of things here from Mr. Patterson. Mr. Patterson, what makes you think that your party will have a great chance of forming the next government when we have third parties before, like Workers' Party of Jamaica, Trevor Monroe, NDM, Bruce Golden, and those were epic failures. Okay, that's one thing I want you to answer. The other thing is, I saw you in Mr. Lonesome's program before, and maybe some other program, and you had some infighting in your party involving money, and I think even your wife was involved, and people were saying how much you should be paid, all that type of stuff. I would like to know what occurred with that situation, if people were suspended or people were expelled or whatever. I want you to talk about that. And then my last thing is what Mr. Rattigan was just talking to you about. I think one of your weaknesses is you believe in the laissez-faire concept too much. You're kind of like reading from an economics book. There's no civil or no sovereign government or society that has this laissez-faire stuff. That's nonsense, right? And it's nonsense for this reason. The fact that you have government, you're going to have some type of regulation. The only thing is, when you look at like the PNP and the GOP versus the Republican and the Democratic Party, there are two parties that are on the left, and there are two parties that are on the right. Both want regulations. It's just the right party, the Conservative Party, they want less regulation. So when I listen to you and you talk about minimum wage, and that, for example, the market will set it, you know that's not realistic, because you know if the big guys them are setting this stuff, they're going to dominate the poor people. They're basically going to tell them what they should work for, take it or leave it. So I wanted to address those 3 points, right? The point with your party having a realistic chance of winning the next election, the point being fighting that was going on in your party and monies and who should have got this, and that laissez-faire concept that you have, which I think is a weakness for you. Thank you again, Mr. Rattigan.
You're welcome, sir. Thanks, caller. Mr. Patterson?
Yeah, so on the first question of how realistic it is or what chances we have as a political party, that will be decided by the Jamaican people. So we're working hard right now to build the movement and to have, to the satisfaction of Mr. Lonesome, the number of candidates to roll out to you. And so we're building that. And I'm going to leave it to the Jamaican people to decide on 2 fronts. One front is on whether or not they wish to have a political party which is owned by the people, and another which is whether or not they want to vote for that party. So that answers that question. The second question about infighting in the party and monies and wife and so on, the UIC has gone through an episode where we had some internal challenges, persons who, had various views and tried to do many things that sought to destroy my character, defame me, and so on. These things are normal in the political process. Once you get into the arena of politics, you have all kind of dirty things and underhanded things and, just disrespectful things that happen. We have gone through it, we have weathered the storm, and we have come out stronger for it. And it's not going to be the last. You're always going to have attempts, internal and external, to discredit us, and you'll see that even on this program. So that's normal. As for the third element that you raised, what was that again, Mr. Rattigan, the third element?
Trying to think. Does nobody remember? The third one was, it'll come to me. Jeffrey, you have a question?
Sorry about that. So sorry.
No.
Mm-hmm. You're muted, Jeffrey. You're muted. We're not hearing you.
Mr. Patterson, you said a while ago that on this program people try to discredit you.
No,
no, I'm sorry. The third thing was a laissez-faire.
Right. Let me just deal with Mr. Tavares first. When you get in any sessions where you're, having discussions like these, persons might use the opportunity to try to discredit you. That's normal. On any platform that I go, you'll face that. So you might not do it, and I hope you don't, but it's possible. Now back to the question.
No. You said that people on this program, on this platform, try to discredit you a while ago. You need to answer in order to try to do it, sir. All
right, Mr. Tavares. You can go and replay the tape. Now back to the question.
No. We are on the program is owned by Mr. Rattigan, of course, but we are on here. Which one of us on this platform tried to discredit you a while ago, sir?
I have no idea. Can we go back to the question? No,
all right, he says he has no idea. But Jeffrey, he says he has no idea. Let's take him at his word.
So back to the point of Mr. Jeffrey, calm down, man.
I'm calm down. No, I am calm, but you're saying that we are trying to discredit you. And I'm asking you a simple question, sir. Which one of us on this program tried to discredit you a while ago?
I don't know.
Oh, you said it a while ago, so why did you say it, sir?
No, we can debate what I said, but I'm not going to have the time for that. So let's move back to
No. You said it a while ago, sir. You said one of us on this platform tried to discredit you. Which one of us tried to do it, sir?
Okay. Mr. Tavares.
No. You will not come away with it this evening. You need to tell the people on this platform and the people who's listening to you, which one of us tried to discredit you a while ago?
As I said before, when you come on any platform, there's a possibility.
No, that's not what you said. That's not what you said.
That was my follow-up statement. I said even on this platform.
No.
Mr.
Hold on, all right, hold on 1 second. Hold on, let me step in here. He said that he made the statement. You've challenged him. He said he doesn't remember. Right? He said he doesn't remember.
No, I didn't say I don't remember. I said I don't know.
You don't know who tried to disparage you?
Well, my comment was that when you in the past, people have tried to discredit me, in what we're talking about, answering the question. And I said, even on this platform, people may try to do it. And I said in my follow-up to him, when I go anywhere, you might find persons who seek to use the opportunity to discredit. So that's a normal part of the political affairs. Once you get involved in politics, this is the norm. People are going to come at you, rightfully or wrongfully. They're going to try to do things to destabilize or to discredit. That's a part of the game.
No, Jeffrey, maybe that's just something.
Hold on a minute, wait.
Hold on.
That's one thing. It's not discredit, but seem like you don't want to be, Mr. Patterson, you don't want to be like Angelo, who starts a people bad mind and them start. When it's just question them we ask it.
But no, Mr. Lonesome, you're so right. No, Mr. Lonesome, you're very right. People are going to say things, and you have to now decide how to respond. Some people say bad mind for everything. So once a person call them out on anything they say is bad mind. And my line, you don't want me now to now use another line, say I discredit, right? So seriously.
Hold on. Jeffrey, finish your point, please.
Yes. Are you prepared to tell the people of this country, how should I phrase this question without seeing that I am trying to create anonymity here now?
Caller, hold on, please. All right, while you're thinking about it, we have a caller. Hold that point, Jeff. Caller. Hello?
Oh, sorry. Hold on. I'll answer for him. There's no fusion center in Jamaica, and if there is, tell us where and when it was created. That's all I have to say. He's jumping around and putting up all this stone wall. He should be a mason.
Who? I think that's a different conversation. But
there's
anyway,
a question I didn't answer yet, Mr. Rattigan, about the laser sphere thing.
Yeah.
So can I answer it now, or
you can let Mr. Tavares finish, and then before we move to.
Oh, he didn't remember what he was going to say.
No, I remember.
Oh, you remember? No, go right ahead.
Are you prepared to tell the people of this country? In other words, declare UCIC or UIC financial statement to the people of this country?
Oh, that's normal.
Since you are asking us for donation.
Jeffrey, your mic. There's something wrong with your mic.
Yeah, let me answer Mr. Tavares. The UIC has audited statements done each and every year. Our recent audited statements for the year 2022 have just been completed and will be filed with the ECJ, the Electoral Commission of Jamaica, by the 31st of March, which then makes it public record.
Okay. Herb.
I'm not going to answer this question.
Herb. Oh, answer the laissez-faire thing while Herb is.
Okay. The UIC strongly and unequivocally supports protecting our individual sovereignty. We believe each person is a sovereign entity and should be treated as such. We come together to form a corporate sovereign entity, which is the nation of Jamaica. So our government must protect us as a sovereign country and respect each of us as sovereign individuals. And the laws must be so constructed that no government will ever again have the opportunity to do what the Prime Minister attempted to do, to violate our bodily autonomy or the rights and freedoms when it comes on to freedom of speech, freedom of movement, freedom of association, or freedom of choice. Our life, liberty, and property rights must be unquestionably protected in the new Constitution of Jamaica.
Let me ask you this. Do you consider yourself a law-abiding citizen of Jamaica?
Of course, yes.
Okay, so why did you violate the law against protesting without a permit?
Very good question, because like Marcus Garvey, I believe that justice is greater than the law. So whenever the law conflicts with justice, you have every right to break it.
But then that you have anarchy if you have that, because everybody could say, well, this is just, this is my cause is just. So what I'm doing is just, and so the hell with the law.
Justice can be clearly defined, and so we can't each decide what is justice.
But Mr. Patterson, listen, it's a very simple. The requirements are very simple to get a permit. What was this? What was the symbolism of that, of not applying for the permit and just go ahead and just?
That's very simple. Very simple. You should never require a permit in your country to protest against the government. Never.
So people should just protest whenever they feel like, wherever they feel like.
No, it's not about wherever and whatever, because when you protest, you must never violate anybody's property rights, for example. But you should never have to seek permission from the very one you need to protest against.
Yeah, but what that tells me is that, so I can protest against and block traffic. Is that okay?
No, it's not okay.
Okay, I can protest and I can block pedestrian pathways. Is that okay?
No, that's not okay. No.
All right. Well, let me ask you this: when would it be okay then to protest?
No, it's always okay to protest once you have a legitimate reason to do so. Now you're asking me about what you do when you protest.
Yeah, because
when you protest, you do not block roads or violate people's property rights or the right to their life or liberty. So protest doesn't mean you do things that destroys public property or prevent people from moving freely about their business.
Mr. Patterson, let me ask you this. Think about what you're saying, and I don't think about the message. Think about the message that you're conveying to Jamaican citizens. That, hey, you know what? If I think that my cause is just, I'm like Marcus Garvey. I don't have to submit to the law. I'm just going to go ahead and do what I need to do. And if they arrest me, they arrest me. And this
I didn't say that. No, I didn't say that.
That's the impact of what you're saying, though, because it's
your
no.
Your
all right.
assumption of
Yeah,
the impact.
I'll tell you what.
Let me tell you what I'm saying. Let me say it again clearly for you. Whenever justice conflicts with the law, justice must prevail.
Whose justice, though? That's your justice.
No, I know. No, of course. No, we can now have a discussion about what is just and what is.
And that's what I'm talking about. That's because.
For example, Wil Rattigan, if you lived at the time when the law said slavery was okay, would you obey that law or would you go against that law?
You said slavery was okay. Who am I? Am I a landowner? Am I a slave? Who am I?
No, it don't matter who you are. I'm saying to you.
If I'm a landowner,
if you lived at the time when slavery was the law, when the law said it's okay for you to own another person as property, would you, Wil Rattigan, oppose that law or obey that law?
It depends on whether I'm a landowner, a slave owner, and a
for me, it doesn't depend.
No,
for me, it's unjust.
No, but here's the thing. It's chalk and cheese, because this is nowhere near slavery. This is a simple matter. No,
you can go back. Yes.
No. Hold on a second. Let me finish, Mr. Patterson. No. Let me finish. No. I think that example is over the top. Listen, this is a simple case of public order that we all can agree on, and they're saying, listen.
No, Mr. Rattigan.
What?
When you agree that the government must require you to get a permit from them to protest against them, well, I will never agree with that premise.
But hold on a second. Hold on a second. Mr. Patterson, if you go back and you look at that act, it's not only protesting against the government. You can protest against all kinds of things. It's saying if you want to protest, here are the things you need to do, right? And I think that as somebody who's a leader of this new party, right, that you would want to set some example to say, okay, you know what, we are law-abiding, and this is so simple to comply with that we're going to do. This is nothing like slavery or anything like that.
We did not see it as a matter of simple to comply.
So you can just protest whenever you feel like.
We see it as a violation of our rights.
Just give me one say. Just give me one say.
Mr. Lonesome, we can accept that you, Mr. Rattigan, sees it as okay, and that's fine, because that's what politics is, right? We come to the table and look at it.
Hold on, Lonesome, hold on.
You see it as okay for the law to exist that says you must get permission from the government to protest. You see that as okay. I don't see it as okay.
Okay.
Now, when we go to the electorate can decide between
Fair
me
enough.
and those who think otherwise.
Fair enough. Lonesome, hold on one second. Hold on one second, Lonesome. No, wait. Lonesome. Hold on. Lonesome, hold the point. Jeffrey, quickly. And then Lonesome.
So hold on, Mr. Patterson. When you're living in Canada, don't you abide by the laws and rules in Canada?
Of course, yes.
Okay. So if you abide by the laws and regulations in Canada, why is it you can't abide by the laws and regulations in Jamaica? And yet you want, and hold on, sir. And yet you want to be a leader of this country, and you don't want to abide by the laws of Jamaica?
You want me to answer now?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, answer. After you answer, Mr. Lonesome, we'll have the floor.
Yeah, when I lived in Canada, when I lived in Canada, I have never had any occasion where I felt it necessary to break a law. So in Jamaica, on September 22nd, 2021, when my government of Jamaica was attacking my rights and freedoms and that of the Jamaican people, I felt it necessary to break that law. That's my choice. Now, you may have chosen otherwise. That's okay. I want a society where you are free to make that choice. And I am free to say, I will not.
Mr. Patterson,
hold on a second, Jeffrey.
In any other modern democracy, you have to abide by the laws of the land. And if you want to become a political leader in Jamaica, where you are leading the UIC, then God help us if you become prime minister in this country.
Hold on, Jeffrey. Lonesome, go ahead.
All right, so Mr. Patterson, instead of breaking the law, why not just follow the law, get your slate of candidate, trump up the people, get the vote, try to turn the prime minister, then legislation and change the law.
So we're talking about the past now, right? The past was on September 22nd, 2021, when I led a demonstration of some 500.
No, because we don't want to talk again.
Right. No, so I led a demonstration because as a concerned citizen, I felt it necessary to do so. What is clear is that you felt it was okay for things to be the way they were and for the government to do what it did. I didn't feel so.
No, we never said that. No, we never said that.
I'm trying to understand your premise here. So
but what I'm just saying, what I'm saying to you.
Let me clarify. I've said it before. I have chosen to say I am against the notion.
You chosen to break it. Okay.
I'm against the notion of any government saying I must get a permit from them to protest against them. You're okay with that? That's fine.
No, I know you see, I just asked you say, I'm not okay with nothing like that. But tell me what, I'd rather someone go there and change the law, but I'm not going to be a lawbreaker.
Wayne, if you think about it,
yes,
through the history of mankind, if you wait.
No, we're down to the history. You just say, you just tell me said that done already. So you're going to the history of mankind. We don't want to do that.
Yes. You have to be prepared to listen. So
yes, man.
Throughout the history, hold on now. Listen, man, calm down. Throughout the history of mankind, we the people have had to take actions which, had we waited for the time to go and change the law, we would not have any time to change the law. We would have been exterminated.
No, but I just asked you, just said that gone already in the just said that when 2021, but you just tell me the history of mankind gone millions of years or thousands of years. That's what you're going forward and what me talk about. That's why I just said no, I don't want to go back. That's all because you just I say it's gone already.
I like to learn from the past, you see?
I like to learn from the past. That's why I asked you. So I say make we just just obey the law, try get the slate of candidate, put them in that we can run, that we can form the next government, and then change the law.
That is being done. As of right in 2021,
yes,
I did what I did, and I told you the premise on which I did it. In 2023, I'm doing what I'm doing, and you can ask me in a few months or years' time what was the premise of what I did in 2023.
So when you're going to come and introduce those candidates, remember, you have the election going to do in 2 years, complete 2 years, general election, 2025, right? So you're not going to introduce these people to the constituencies, to the constituents in the constituencies. That means them can get familiarized with them. That means them can get, get to know them better. That means them will come vote for them. When that going to happen?
In due course. Stay tuned.
Okay, all right. Herb, hold on a second, Lonesome. Herb, go ahead with the question, please.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to ask him concerning permission to protest. What happens when a larger group, a counter protest, pops up and your team out there protesting gets assaulted, or God forbid somebody gets killed because nobody has permits? I mean, are you saying that's the type of lawlessness you look forward to, or what?
Absolutely not. When you have a protest, whether it is permitted or not permitted, anything can go wrong. You can have persons who are violent. You can have persons who want to instigate violence. That's normal. The fact that we're going to respect the rights of citizens to protest doesn't mean that we are inviting or encouraging anarchy or anything like that. We're saying it's your right, the right to protest without getting permission from the government to do so.
All right. My question originally that I wanted to pose, you mentioned the PSOJ funds the two major parties, and that there's a certain degree of vote buying that occurs. Are you aware of the vote buying in the last election, 2020? Yeah, because a lot of videos were out. And if the PSOJ has that type of impact, where a third of the votes of the country is tied up, how do you plan to use a grassroots movement that would have to be pretty much, I would say, 40% of the country that you would have to influence within that grassroots movement to ensure that you're not non-competitive? I mean, your numbers, man, how would you crunch those numbers? Because you need 40% to exceed the 30-odd% that's tied up between the two parties. Wouldn't you say?
Right. So you have mentioned a number of things there which needs to be, unpacked. So first of all, the PSOJ doesn't directly fund vote buying, going out there. What the PSOJ does is to fund the two parties more or less equally for the most part. So they have the money to do what they do. The UIC is hoping that intelligent people like yourself will say, well, let's change that. Let us organize ourselves into a political movement where we unify desperate groups and raise funds among ourselves from our people, local and international. And then we use that to build our grassroots movement to win the election. Of course, you'll have to have a ground game. All the political parties must have a ground game. They must have, what will you put in terms of PD by PD? What will you do in terms of division by division? And that's another story. We can talk about the technical pieces and the strategy. But overall, it's basically raising funds in a different model and using that crowdfunding to lead a strong campaign. And hopefully the people buy into our plan to make Jamaica into a true republic and to make the changes that we talk about.
All right. Go ahead, Herb. You have another question?
No, I was going to ask him if at the time that is, I think Wayne just said 2025 is the next scheduled election. So let's say 2024, the start of 2024, would your slate of candidates begin to identify themselves and identify their sources of funding and speak to their constituents? As you said, they have to come out of the constituency that they are representing. You said that, okay?
Yes, I did. Yes, I said that for sure. Yes.
So are they ready? Are they going to be ready to go January 2024? Because they can call election at any time, basically next year.
Yes, as a matter of fact, the Prime Minister can call the election anytime this year. I mean, there's nothing stopping him from doing that. The law allows him to do that. Yes, Wayne, the law allows the Prime Minister to call the election anytime he wants. So the UIC is continuing its work at the grassroots level locally and internationally to win the support and confidence of Jamaicans as donors, as volunteers, as members, and as candidates. And so should the Jamaican people, home and abroad, respond in the way that we're hoping they will respond, then we'll be able to successfully challenge the two colonial parties and take charge.
But tell me something, Mr. Patterson. If you get the state of candidate that the people overseas, like we in the diaspora, can see them on the ground, then we will respond in a more kind, but we're not seeing them. We don't even see one of them.
Mr.
Even
Lonesome,
from you as the face. That's why I asked you. The Prime Minister can call election 2 months, 3 months, general election.
You can call it anytime. Anytime.
Right, if they don't out there, what's going to happen?
So
we're going to contribute
no
one on the ground.
Let me see if I can answer your question directly.
Please.
Because you have been really pressing, and I know why you're pressing. You want to know who are all of these candidates.
Yes.
And you want to see all of these candidates.
Of course.
You want to see them working. You want to see them across all divisions.
Yes.
And then that will give you confidence now to help us do what is necessary.
That is it.
Yes. Now, what I've been saying to you and all Jamaicans is that you have to decide whether you wait for the fire to be lit or you help to light the fire. Yeah? So what I have invited all of us to do, self-included, let us help to build the fire. Let us get the firewood and let's help to build the fire. Don't just wait on Mr. Patterson. You, Wayne Lonesome, for example, can say, I have a person who I think is suitable to run for candidacy in St. Catherine Northwest, for example, where I think you're from. And you can work with your people there and say, me want a man for run. I am tired of PNP and GLP. And you can help to form that situation and help to bring this person forward.
Mr. Patterson.
The UIC is open to, one second, Mr. Rattigan. The UIC is open to you and all Jamaicans to do what is best for Jamaica. Now, of course, we can choose a different way. We can all step back and say, make us see what the UIC are going to do. And at the end of the day, we shall end up with merely what we've always had, the two colonial parties running our government.
All right, let me ask you this. I'm going to make a statement and then I'm going to ask you a question. I do practice immigration law. And one of the things I'd like to let people know is that if they follow you, and I'm not saying that they shouldn't, I'm just telling them that if they follow you and protest and they get arrested and they have a criminal record, when they apply to go to certain places, that will show up and it could affect their ability to travel to those places. So people, if just think about that when you're going out with Mr. Patterson, the fact that you could get a criminal record and that criminal record could hinder your ability to travel to places like the United States. Now, here's a question. Do you believe in the Jamaican judiciary?
No, when you asked the question, my mind was still caught up with your comments a while ago. And it makes me wonder, what is our real purpose and intentions here? What are we trying to achieve here today? It could be that we want to make sure that we vet the UIC president properly and we vet the UIC's manifesto properly.
That's right.
And that we help the Jamaican people.
That's right.
We help the Jamaican people to have a good understanding of the person and the movement and lend our support to the creation of a better Jamaica. Or it could be that we do not want that. We want something else, whatever that something else is. Now, if we drive fear into the hearts of the Jamaican people and say, do not stand up for your rights in the way that Mr. Patterson proposes, we have a better way to stand up for your rights. The way Mr. Patterson is proposing is that whatever the government tells you to do, that is what you should do. Mr. Patterson is saying no, that, and he's dangerous because, boy, him will tell you to break the law. And if you break the law, you might not be able to travel. Now, when Mr. Patterson led some 500 people on September 22nd, 2021, there were some serious issues going on in Jamaica. That was a special moment. That's not a everyday moment where you just get up and go to your protest and you go and do whatever. That was a very special moment in our history. A moment where, in my opinion, we were at the edge of our government leading us down a path that could be quite catastrophic for us as a people. And I decided that, unlike many, I'm going to stand up and go forward and ask us to say to the government, hell no, we're not going to allow this to happen. That was a special moment. That's not an everyday kind of situation. And so I would do the same thing all over again if our government ever again bring us to that point where they endanger the lives and livelihood of the Jamaican people in a serious way that requires us to rise up. I can only imagine how Paul Bogle, Sam Sharp, and those great men and women must have felt when they had to rise up against a tyrannical government, facing the possibility of being killed by their own government of the day. So I make no apologies for what I've done.
All right, Mr. Patterson. Mr. Patterson.
And at the same time, I encourage us to be careful what message we telegraph to our citizens.
No, Mr. Patterson, if you remember carefully, all I said, I'm not telling people don't follow you. I'm just telling people that just think about what you're doing for the future. If you don't need to travel and you're not worried about a criminal history, then fine. Don't worry. But it's up to you. I'm not telling them to do or not do. I'm just telling them think. Now, the question I ask is, do you believe in the Jamaican judiciary?
Right. Good. Yes, that question. Yes, I do not have a great deal of confidence in the Jamaican governance system, period, including the legislature and the judiciary or the executive branch.
Talk to me about the judiciary. Just talk to me about the judiciary.
No, so I don't have confidence.
You don't have confidence. Okay. So you don't have confidence in the law, in some of the laws, right? Because I believe you would subscribe to some of the laws, but not all of them. Right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, there are always, it's not all of it bad.
Right.
But yeah,
and you have no confidence in it. Two questions. If you have no confidence in it, then why subscribe to a hearing? Why not then say, hey, you know what? I don't believe in this law and I'm protesting it. And guess what? I have no confidence in the judiciary. So guess what? I'm not showing up for court. The hell with them. Let them do whatever they want to do. That's number one. Why don't you ignore the court? And the second thing is, in your manifesto, you say common law right of juries to judge not only the facts, but also the justice of the law. So you're saying we don't need judges now for court cases. We need juries. I'll read it again. You said the presumption of innocence until proven guilty must be preserved. We assert the common law right of juries to judge not only the facts, but also the justice of the law.
And what did you deduce from that? You deduce that I'm saying to do away with judges?
Well, you tell us what are you saying. But answer the first question first. Answer the first question first.
You're raising it.
Please answer the first question first.
And what was the first question?
First question was, since you don't believe in certain laws and you don't have any confidence in the judicial system, why do you submit yourself then to a hearing?
Absolutely. So I have little confidence in our justice system, but I do hope that in some cases they prove themselves to be worthy of the calling.
And that's your answer?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, we'll answer the second question then now. This common law business about juries judging facts and the justice of the law.
Your deduction from it is faulty. It
Okay.
does not,
Maybe it's written poorly. But go ahead.
That's any one of them is possible, but it doesn't mean what you have implied.
All right, what does it mean?
Oh, it means that the jury must be involved in not just saying guilty or not guilty, but also assessing the justice of the law.
What does that mean?
It means the decision being made just or unjust?
But that's what they do. That's what juries do. They make a decision.
No, they don't talk about justice. And
have you ever served in a jury pool?
If I've served in a jury pool, no, I've not.
Okay. Next question.
Will, is he talking about jury nullification?
No. He's not talking about jury nullification.
Okay.
It's on the website. You can go ahead and you can read it. But I don't want to kill the time with that. Herb.
The manifest is on the website, and you can read it and see what it says. But you can draw conclusions that are not accurate. Yes.
Right. Well, the reason why I said that to you is because I've been around juries many times, and I'm very familiar with the process.
I know your background.
So okay, all right, fine. Jeffrey.
Yes. Good afternoon again, Mr. Patterson.
Yes, good afternoon.
You said that the UIC is different. Going to be different from the two political parties of the colonial days of the Vumba and the Vumba. My question to you, you said that you have, is the UCIC loan monies to people in St. Elizabeth and so forth? Or is it a company that you have?
So you're talking about the UIC?
Yeah, I'm asking you, you said that there's a company that loans to
is it the UIC? You mentioned a name I couldn't identify with, so I want to be clear. You're talking about the UIC?
Yes.
UIC. Right, so UIC Jamaica, which is the name of the political party, itself has only given one loan to one of its members for an event. In terms of the Capital Club that you're talking about, that was a business that I operate in Northeast St. Elizabeth, where I offered loans to small and micro entrepreneurs.
Okay. Are you prepared with that company and the UCIC, are you prepared to make the financial statements of the party to the people? You're going to be, Mark, you said you're going to be different. So I'm asking you, are you prepared now to make the financial statements of the UCIC public to the people of Jamaica who want to vote for you and who want to contribute to you?
Yeah, it seems as if you're not hearing properly, but we are the UIC. Let me say it again, the UIC, United Independence Congress of Jamaica. And as I said to you earlier in the day when you asked the question, maybe a little differently, we have audited financial statements that are produced every year and submitted to the Electoral Commission of Jamaica, which makes it public record.
I know that, but I'm asking you, are you prepared to put it on the website that we all can see it?
Oh, there's no problem at all in putting it on the website.
All right, hold on. Let me jump in here for a second. We have some views in the chat room. One person is saying we're being contradictory because we debate about oppressive government in Jamaica, yet all this man is trying to say is in a democracy, citizens have the right to peacefully protest without a permit. In Canada and the USA, you do not need permission to protest. That's not true. You need a permit to protest. I don't know about Canada, but the USA, you need a permit. And the other thing is that, and somebody else says that, are you saying Jamaicans should not protest? No, absolutely not. I'm saying protest as much as you want. But what I'm also saying is that there is a framework within which you protest, and we have accepted it. Now, if you don't like the law, remember now, people, you elect representatives. So when you elect them with a message and you tell them, go to Parliament and repeal the law. But as long as the law is there saying that you have to comply with the requirements if you want to protest, I'm saying comply with it. And then you get your representative to go in there, and then they repeal laws all the time. In fact, not only do they repeal laws, they amend the Constitution all the time. So there are ways that you can actually go and address this issue without taking it upon yourself to deliberate. And in this case, it was deliberately done. He said it. He said it. It wasn't a case where somebody said, "Oh, I didn't know you need a permit." He said, "No, this is a just cause that we're fighting for, and we don't think we should have a permit to protest in Jamaica." Now, I'm saying for order in a civil society, you're going to have some kind of regulation regarding people's right to assemble, i.e., a protest. So that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying nobody. In fact, I support Mr. Patterson's right to protest, and I'll support it till the day I die. All I'm saying to him is that if you don't like the structure within which you have to protest, then change it. That's all I'm saying.
What I do, I could carry them, I could file a lawsuit against it.
Mr. Rattigan.
Oh yeah, in fact, Mr. Patterson, you'd have good company because Mr. Lonesome is not afraid of filing lawsuits. So maybe you should align with him, and he'll file the paperwork to have things changed. Let me run back to Herb. We haven't heard much from Herb. Herb.
Yeah. I'm looking at a different aspect of how you're approaching this thing, because I don't believe you're going to be a victor depending on grassroots changes. They would take you next 30 years and it would never happen. Not the way the country is corrupt, right? How could you deal with the corruption in the country right now using your skills as an auditor? What could you contribute to the questioning of the banking system, as well as even in the judicial system, to take a look at some of the decisions that are being made, whether it's policy or whether it's court decisions that let the big man off the hook, right? How would you begin to combat the corruption, the level of corruption we're suffering from? I think people would like to hear that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nelson. The issue of corruption in Jamaica has been heavily ventilated by talk show hosts for years, and they've brought in persons of notable esteem, and they've spoken about it from left, right, and center. It is my settled conviction that until we take a strong political position and release ourselves from the grips of these two colonial parties and those who have backed and funded them over the last 80 years, then we'll only be talking. We'll have incremental successes where we come close to, for example, convicting somebody. We may even convict one or two. We may have new changes to the laws, and they'll find another loophole, or they'll build the law with its own loopholes, and it will continue. So I have decided to focus my energy and effort at the political solution rather than the talk shows.
All right, before Lonesome, before you come on, let me just say this, that Mr. Patterson, I did ask your folks if you would be willing. In fact, I said to them, tell us the areas that you don't want us to ask questions about. I was being very, very generous and very fair. And this is how I treat my guests. I said, if there's some things you don't want to talk about, then let us know and we'll avoid that. They responded, we can talk about anything. So, everything's on the table. So I just wanted
we're
to
open for that.
And the second thing
I didn't know, by the way, what you had said. I didn't know that.
Right. But and then the other thing is that somebody is saying that, you have a right to protest, and the police, when they only give the issue permits to who they want, and that's why we have court system. Because if it's determined that they pick and choose who they want to give permits to, then there is a course for relief. Somebody said you do not need a permit to march in the streets.
I know you know better than this. Honestly.
You do not need a permit. No, I thought you would have known better by saying, look, if you want to challenge the law, then there are ways to do it. You challenge it in Parliament, you challenge it in court.
I hope you know better than this. But your point of argument, your point of reasoning is quite logical and well put.
No, but that's fine. But I just feel that people submit.
However, the reality that we live in significantly contradicts your proposition.
But here's the thing. Somebody just said you do not need a permit to march in the streets or on sidewalks in the USA as long as marchers do not obstruct car or pedestrian traffic. Now tell me, how are you going to do a protest without obstructing cars or pedestrian traffic? And that's why you go to the police, and one of the first things they ask is, how many people will you have in your group? And then once it's a certain amount, then they say you need a permit, because you cannot tell me that if you have 500 people, I don't care what country you're in, 500 people marching, you cannot tell, unless they're in the desert, you cannot tell me 500 people marching in a metropolitan area will not affect car, pedestrian traffic, something. It's going to. And there's no way. Yeah, and there's no way.
You're totally right, Mr. Rattigan. If you have more than one or two persons in a protest, you're going to have some level of traffic challenges. you know, with other users of the sidewalk, other users of the road. You know, you're going to challenge the space. So it's a given. It's a fact. Where we differ is that while you subscribe to getting a permit to do it, I do not.
And
so,
that's fine. And that's right. And I respect that. I respect that. I was just probing as to see if, the reasoning behind why you wouldn't submit to it.
Well, the reasoning is, we believe it is counterproductive to seek permission from the government to protest against them. No, we don't think that's going to be and we've seen that in countries where those laws have been used very effectively to suppress protest. So the truth is, there are reasonable factors that you're raising are part of concerns in any democracy or any governance model. How do you deal with protecting the rights of citizens versus what the government might see as being the best kind of arrangement?
Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, because it seems to me as if your focus is on the government. And I see where you're going. You're saying, how can you ask the government for a permit to protest against the government? Well, let me ask you this. How about asking the government for a permit to protest against a company? Because you said that whatever private people do in their business transactions, the government should have no role in it. So is that the argument that
protesting
against a company?
When it comes on to protesting, the UIC is 100% opposed to violence, any form of violence. Now, if you're going to protest against a company without doing anything that is violent or seriously obstructing traffic and seriously obstructing the people that go in and out of the company, that's a problem. Okay. But you can protest otherwise.
Okay. So now you have let's say you have a charismatic, bright, articulate figure like you in Jamaica, and they've managed to amass 1,000 people to march against a company, not the government. And so they said, we don't need any permit. And now they're in Crossroads, 1,000 people, and they're marching up the street. Should that be curtailed? Should that be broken up? Or should they just allow them to just go ahead with it?
Well, that's where leadership comes in. Eh? Now, some governments may take a position that is very heavy-handed and which creates more problems than it solves. And there are other governments who can handle the situation in a way that
your government. How would your government handle that? Because you don't believe in permits. How would you handle that? No, let me make it even better. 10,000 people marching in Crossroads, and they say we're marching all the way up to Ligani or wherever, and they're marching 10,000 people. Now you're in charge. You're in charge of the government. What's your stance on that?
Well, a lot of the stance will depend on what's really happening here. Let's say there's a serious injustice that was done to someone by the company, for example. Then you have to decide how best to approach this. For example, we might have to call in the company to say, listen, let's address this in a way that deflates the situation.
Hold on, Mr. Patterson, let me stop. I'm sorry to interrupt, but let me stop you there. Remember now, under your government, we don't need a permit, so people won't know this is going to happen. It happens organically. And then all of a sudden now you wake up the morning and you see on the news 10,000 people marching up the street. That's too late for you to say, well, we're going to call a meeting and say, oh, we'll bring the company in.
Mr. Rattigan, when people decide to protest, whether or not there is a requirement for a permit, if the situation is so grievous that the people are aroused, it's leadership now that is going to address how well you contain and manage the situation. So the UIC is not for you requiring a permit to protest, but it does not absolve us of our responsibility as leaders to effectively manage the situation.
Mr. Patterson, thank you for that answer. Mr. Lonesome, please go ahead, sir.
Yes. All right. So, Mr. Patterson, so if you say you're going to manage the same thing the other rest of party, the government doing now, I'm going to manage these kind of
when you say the same thing, no, you can't answer that. Same thing means you're doing the same thing. We're not doing the same thing. So
even with the crowd or whatever, you say manage, because you're going to have police and things going to come.
Manage doesn't mean.
But anyway, let me just pass on to that.
No, Mr. Lonesome, hold on. Saying, no, you're not going to get over that. There are in any situation.
Yes.
You have different kind of leaders. You have leaders who will crack skull and leaders who will negotiate settlements in a way that is amicable for everyone.
But the police not going to negotiate and settle because you're going to be there.
It depends on the leadership of your police
and
the leadership of your government.
All right. So when you're addressing the other two parties, you said 78 years, right?
No, I said
78, right?
79.
79 years, and I'm not with that because we know Jamaica just turned 60, I got 61, and that's true. But you know, your party, how old you say your party is now? 10 years.
So, Mr. Lonesome, okay, let's...
10 years, right?
Yeah, we started in 2013.
10 years, so 10 years. And what's the progress for the whole 10 years now we're moving? That's what we want the candidate to know. We want to see them because as I said before, and it's very serious, we have to start vet people. It's like how we see the government move, so. And when we are run down by each of them, Jamaican people. So we want, forget the party moving. That's why I'm going to ask you, what's the amount of candidates ready already? You turned to me and you said, all right, me supposed to can select a candidate. By the way, I'm not from St. Catherine, from East Kingston, right?
Okay.
Yes, East Kingston.
No, I had a conversation with you once where you say that's your area.
No. East Kingston, my place.
I thought you had a connection with.
No, I have connection all over the place, but East Kingston,
My apologies, yes. Go ahead.
Okay, good. All right, so that's why we want to know the candidate because we know, okay, for all of this, if you talk for a political party, first of all, we have to get people elected first. Because if we even talk and ask what we're going to do with police and everything, it's going to go in vain if we don't have candidates and we don't get them elected and don't get that them can represent. I'm right or wrong? Am I right or wrong?
You are wrong.
So you can tell me I am wrong?
Yes,
so if you don't get elected as candidate, how are you going to run? Or are you going to be a government?
Yeah, you're very wrong.
How are you going to be a government?
So you want me to speak now? You want me to respond?
Yeah, I don't mean I understand that. Yes,
So you're wrong. So what you're trying to suggest to your viewers is that the UIC is not worth much consideration until we have all our candidates in place. That's wrong. The UIC, let me finish now. Let me finish. My proposition is that we, the people, need to build this party, and we must encourage our communities to rise up and support respective persons as candidates.
So you say me wrong?
Hold on. It's a matter of whether you have the chicken or the egg. So your proposition is Joseph Patterson.
It's not a proposition, it's a fact.
No, hold on, so make him finish. Make Mr. Patterson finish. Go ahead, Mr. Patterson.
Your proposition is Joseph Patterson must come forward with a fully formed, complete, immaculate, everything put together.
I never said immaculate, don't put word in my mouth. I said remember we are talking about government now. We're talking government now.
Mr. Lonesome, let
Please.
me finish now.
Yes.
I like to listen to you, and then I like to listen to you. So we're not going to have a fully formed grassroots movement where everything is in place to satisfy you.
Not me. It's
hold on. Make him finish. Let me finish.
I mean, anyone. One second, Mr. Rattigan. I mean, anyone who is having the kind of ideas that you have. The UIC is open to you and all Jamaicans to help to make it what we want it to be. Now, if there's a person sitting out there tonight or this afternoon, sitting there and saying to themselves, wait a minute, so you mean I can get up and go to the UIC and say, I would like to be a candidate, and here's my support in my community, and I have a chance. They're not just coming to just put somebody upon me so and say, this is your representative. They're looking forward to your grassroots involvement, your community involvement, and you coming forward, or your community putting you forward and saying, we want this man here or this woman here to represent us. You're saying that you don't like that approach. You prefer the one where we come with everybody and we're well funded.
No, I'm not saying that. That means you get everything wrong what we just said. All right. All right, make us explain, make us rephrase. No,
we don't have much time. We don't have much time. So we don't have much time. No,
rephrase. So you have a party, and remember we want to form the next government. That means we have to have candidate. That means when the election call, we're ready, and that means people can vote for your candidate and vote you in, and then you form the government. But we can't farm it with empty hand. So when you say me wrong, me not wrong because we don't have the candidate. You're telling me if you just get somebody now.
No, you are. No,
I can't say me wrong. We don't have all of these candidates.
No, we have discussed this a million times so far, where we said that the UIC will release its candidates at the appropriate time.
So you're telling me to farm.
No, but you're wrong, because I'm trying to tell you the model we're following. The model we're following.
That means it's not farm yet.
The grassroots. You are saying you want to see everything. No.
No, it's not everything. Just tell me what you have now. If you have 10 candidates, them name, and you could go and promote them.
Right. So I'm not going to tell you that. No.
What? Whoa.
I'm not going to tell you that.
At the party?
I told you before.
Come on now, man.
All right, hold on a second. Hold on. Lonesome. Yeah, Mr. Patterson. Mr. Patterson, hold on 1 second. Mr. Patterson, hold on 1 second. Mr. Patterson did say he's not at liberty to mention any of that to us right now at this point. So we just have to accept that. And move on.
At a party, 10 years.
Yeah, but that's his position. Him just say I'm not going to talk about it. So we just. But let me ask you a question that I think he can answer. Let me think.
I talk to you now.
Yeah.
Who am I donate to? Because I want to donate to a candidate. Who am I donate to? What's the name?
You're donate to the organization at this point. No, I must say I donate to the organization, not to a candidate at this point.
No, I want to donate to a candidate.
All right, well, look, Mr. Patterson. Mr. Patterson has heard you, and I'm sure he'll talk to his committee members, and they'll come up with a plan so that you can start funding candidates.
To my candidate. No, I'm not going to donate to no.
All right, fine. He understands that. But let me ask you this before I bring Herb in and Jeff, because we don't have much time left. Mr. Patterson, everybody has a breaking point. No matter what they tell you, everybody has a breaking point. Like an old law school professor told me one time too, that everybody can be bought. You just need to know what the price is. That's what he said to me. But let's stick with the mantra that everybody has a breaking point. What's your breaking point if this thing doesn't, because it's been 10 years. And it doesn't seem to be galvanizing as much as maybe you hope for, but I shouldn't speak for you, but maybe as other people hope for. So what's your breaking point to say, you know what, I've done enough, and it's not working out, and so I'll channel my energies elsewhere?
If I had a breaking point,
so you don't have one. You don't have a breaking point.
If I had a breaking point, I certainly wouldn't be sharing it.
Oh, yeah, okay. Fine. well, you do have a breaking point. So what you're telling me is that you're not going to share.
If I had a breaking point,
we all have a breaking point, sir.
No, I'm not going to debate whether I have or have not. I'm saying if I even had a breaking point, I would not be sharing that in this.
You know what you sound like to me?
Yes.
You sound like the CIA to me.
Okay.
That's it.
Well, we neither
confirm nor deny that, you know what I mean? But that's a joke, by the way. I hope you
I've not dealt with the CIA. So
no. I've dealt with them. I've dealt with them lots of time. But that's just a joke. That's just a private joke. I hope people don't take it seriously. But that's fine. I accept your answer, sir.
By the way,
Herb.
Go ahead, Herb.
No. I'm sorry. You were saying something. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, I was just going to say that as challenging as some of the questions are, I really appreciate them.
Okay, no worries. Herb.
Okay, all right. You have won the election, right? In 2025, and you're taking over. How do you address the various donmanship, whether it's Skeng Don or Danai or whoever is running whatever parish? How do you address that, and how do you address the fact that they might be in control of MPs, or the MPs may be in control of them? Give us a scenario in how you're going to deal with that problem, because these folks are basically your local government. They're doing more for the people than the local government is doing for them. So give me a scenario how you would deal with that.
Well, the question that you raised speaks to a painful reality that we're suffering in Jamaica, where gangs and gang leaders and people involved in serious criminal activities are in leadership role at the parochial level, in a way that you described as they are the local government. No, that shouldn't be. How I will deal with it is something that there's no way I can tell you the details here, but I can say this. I believe much of what we consider to be crime problem here in Jamaica is driven by persons who are in very strong top positions. So I want us to pursue a top-down approach. And some of it was alluded to before on this forum, like identifying the, where people get their assets from and making sure you have proper declarations and you get proper insights into that. When you get into that forensically, you'll be able to find a lot of the problems can be solved by removing those at the top who are heavily engaged in this kind of stuff. The gang leaders require a system of governance that facilitates them. And when you dismantle that system and that safe haven, they become exposed. And when you support the police and empower the police from the top down, then you now have in place the kind of institution that can systematically go through and rid us of that problem. But
you do realize, sir, that they control elements of the police, even at the district level, right?
That's what I'm saying, yeah. So you have to drill down from the top. Now, it's not going to be easy. All of what we're talking about here is not going to be easy. It's going to be very difficult. But the first step in fixing the crime problem in Jamaica is recognizing that the two major parties are the source of that problem. They generated it, and as long as you have them in position, you can never have an objective approach to solving the crime problem in Jamaica.
Jeff?
So just real quick here, the Prime Minister and the decision made by the folks at the Integrity Commission, where the Prime Minister still has an open case against him, albeit that they said that they wouldn't prosecute in fairness because it's taking too long. Is that how you feel about the law? And what would you do differently to change that situation?
Very good question. I was very disappointed with the position taken by the Integrity Commission, its director of corruption prosecution. I think that was the wrong approach. I don't think there is any statute of limitation on the matters in question. Right. And I think it would have done justice to the Jamaican people if the case had gone to court and allowed the court to determine whether or not the Prime Minister was guilty or innocent. I think the way Jamaica is structured, these are normally the outcomes of these matters. They get away with it. If I were the government of the day, this would have to go to court if the legal boundaries allowed that to happen. And I understand that the director of corruption prosecution was operating within the boundaries. So if you give people these kind of latitude, you can get these results. I believe in a system that's more codified to prevent that kind of latitude. If you have a certain degree of evidence, you proceed and have that take its natural course and let us see where it falls. I don't know if the Prime Minister is absolutely guilty or innocent, but based on what has been released so far, it is quite damning. And I think the Jamaican people deserves a more transparent approach to justice than what has been served so far.
Mr. Patterson, I want to tell you that I'm listening to you carefully, and there are some things that I agree with you on in principle, and there are some things that I disagree with you on in principle, but we still maintain a level of decorum and respect. And I have to tell you that that last point you made, I agree with you 1,000%.
Thank you.
Yes. Mr. Patterson, if you don't have your candidates ready, no, is that serious business, Mr. Patterson?
There's something wrong with your mic. There's something wrong with your mic. We're getting a scratch.
Jeffrey, they're not my candidates. Before you speak, let me clarify something, Rattigan. One thing.
Sure.
I think we misunderstand the purpose of the UIC. The UIC is not my party. The candidates are not my candidates. The UIC is, if, for all intents and purposes, consider it a gift from me to Jamaica. I've spent my time, my energy, and my money to create this opportunity for us, the people, to embrace and to use it as our vehicle to dismantle the two colonial parties' grip on our government. So if we decide to take up the challenge, then we will provide the candidates, including yourself, Mr. Tavares. If you should decide that you want to do more than talk and you want to now get actively engaged in solving the problem, you can come make we fix the situation.
No, hold on a minute.
Or we can continue the trajectory of having a whole multiplicity of talkers from back when to now, where we talk, and we allow the two parties to continue to steal our resources and deny us the prosperity which we seek.
Hold on a minute, Mr. Patterson. Hold on. You are the one who has a party from over how many years now coming up, you know? You put up yourself to be the president of the UIC. So how is it that you, hold on, Mr. Patterson, I allow you to speak. How is it that you at this present moment have no candidates at all? You're not willing to tell us. Don't forget me. Forgive me, you know how many candidates. But you're not willing to tell us now about the candidates, Mr. Patterson.
Jeffrey, we just have to. That one, I think we just have to walk away from that one because he said it several times that he's not at liberty to discuss that with us at this point. And we just have to take it at that. And so if you have another question, then that's fine. Herb, go ahead.
At what point do you have to declare your candidates? Maybe that would give us more recognition.
Very good question, Mr. Nelson. And by the way, I thoroughly enjoy not only your questions, but the way you frame them, Mr. Nelson. No, I'm saying I particularly enjoy Mr. Nelson's questions.
Go ahead, Mr. Patterson.
When the election is called, the electoral office is going to call whoever the president is of the UIC. And at that time, he or she must declare who the candidates are.
Let me ask you this.
Hold on. I'm not saying that's when we are going to do it. I'm saying Mr. Nelson is asking when must we do it? And I'm telling you that under the current system, when the election is called, the ECJ, through the office of the EOJ, will give me a call if I am the president then. And my job is to certify who the candidate is at that time. And by way of example, in the 2016 election, in my constituency of Northeast St. Elizabeth, when the election was called, the then opposition party at the last minute decided on a candidate that they were going to place to run against me in Northeast St. Elizabeth. And they made that decision just a few weeks before the actual election.
Okay.
And that candidate almost won the seat.
All right. Let me ask you this. We don't have much time. We have about 6 minutes left. Following up on Herb's question, Jeffrey's question, Mr. Lonesome's questions, does the UIC plan to field a full slate and contest the entire country, or just a limited number of people?
Very good question, and it's one that a number of persons have asked. We have to be strategic about that, and we continue to monitor the situation and evaluate what will be the most optimal approach to take as the election draws close.
Okay. Lonesome, you have a question? Because we're running out of time. We only have less.
Right, so all right, that's for the general election. Local government election will come up early next year. You have a state of candidate for that also?
So please bear in mind that in both...
That's important, you know. What me and Mr. Patterson we are saying. Without candidate, it comes like a win.
All of your questions,
yes.
All of your questions were valid and appreciated. So what I want to remind Jamaicans is that both local and general elections can be called at any time. The window is just the maximum. So the maximum window for local government is February next year. The maximum window for general is, I think, October 2025, if my memory serves me right. Okay? So the UIC is taking the same approach to the general as we are to the local in terms of disclosing our candidates.
Because I wouldn't mind interviewing two of them and make people start know them and everything. That's why I ask, you know. But you know, you give me them name. And if you give them name, we have help you now. Various funding. Hold on
a second. Hold on.
Very important call. I just have to take this call. 1 second. Just hold on for a second.
Okay.
Yes, man.
All right, listen, Mr. Patterson. Oh.
I'm hearing.
All right, we have literally minutes left, like 4 minutes. So now here's a question I'm going to ask you. Is there a question you would like to ask us?
Oh, I'd like to ask if any of you here would find it useful to help to build the UIC so that Jamaica has an alternative to the two colonial parties that now exist.
All right, Herb, you go first.
It's always been my intention to support a viable, and keyword is viable, party that I assess that will be effective in breaking up the two-party system and make it a lot more competitive while holding everybody accountable. So if that's the road that the UIC is on, then you will have my support. But you know, it takes a while to assess all of that.
Okay, Lonesome. You finish up?
As I said
Lonesome.
before, you want to see the party itself, 1 decade, and you want to see the candidates, you want to see the way the party going and everything before you get on board. You don't get on board on an empty ship. You want other people on the ship and the ship move. So you get on board fully. You understand? So we want to see candidates.
Okay, Jeffrey.
Well, I hope you all can hear me. My views on it is this, that Mr. Patterson hasn't sold me the party for me to say, okay, I will be a part of the UIC. And I can make something clear to you, because I already said something earlier on about that, you know, I'm not a member of any political party in my country. None whatsoever. My gearbox smash up. I don't see wherein right now you are selling the UIC to me for me to say, okay, I'm going to get on board.
All right, tell him what could he do to sell it to you?
First, get the candidates and introduce them to me because them CV.
When I was a part of the National Democratic Movement, all right, I was a part of it.
Jeffrey, we don't have much time. Just tell Mr. Patterson, what could he do to attract you to the party?
If you can abide by the law of the land, 2, bring all the candidates together for me to look at the candidates and say, okay, fine. Basically, that's it for me.
Okay. All right. Let me just make a quick comment here and then we'll just close up. Mr. Patterson, let me just say that I'm never one for party. I'm all about people and policy, but you have to do it within a certain construct, right? But from what I'm seeing, as Lonesome points out all the time, there's one government at a time under the Westminster system. And so I'm focused on this government, and I don't think it's doing right by the people. So I'm focused on the issues, I'm focused on the policies, and I'm focused right there. So them people will come from right there. That's where I came from. And those people, they've been suffering under both parties. They've been suffering. Mostly under this party right now, they're suffering. And so it would be refreshing to have a party that comes up with big, bold ideas about changing the culture, changing the society, changing everything, provided that these people are taken care of. These people are my responsibilities. These people are my concern. These people are my focus. And if you can do that, if you can come up with something that demonstrates to me that this is where your interest is, more than what I've seen so far. I've seen some things that are attractive, but as I said, I have my questions about it. And for one person said to me that they've never seen a manifesto for this party. Just go to their website. The manifesto is there. I read it. It's there. And you can read it and you can have the comments. Mr. Patterson, it's been a pleasure having you, sir. I look forward to seeing you.
Do I get to respond to your?
Well, we don't have much time. We have a minute. Go ahead.
One quick response. You're all welcome to help to make the UIC what you want it to be.
Thank you very much, sir. And with that, people, we're going to leave Mr. Patterson. We'll have him maybe tomorrow. No, I'm joking. We'll have him soon. So take care. Listen to with the Rebel tonight at midnight. And of course, Mr. Lonesome, he has the town hall, regular town hall, I think tomorrow at 4 o'clock, I believe.
Yes, because
tomorrow the 19th, we are at 22 Barbican Road. The UIC has a very action-packed event.
It's not a protest, is it?
22 Barbican Road, 22 Barbican Road, 1 o'clock tomorrow, 22 Barbican Road at the Chinese Cultural Association Center or whatever it's called. Looking forward to seeing all of you.
My brother, it's a pleasure. Take care. Be well. We'll be in touch.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye-bye.
spiritual